The podcast that you're about to listen to does not care about your emotions, your hypersensitivity, or your political correctness. If you wish to continue, then
shut up and sit down.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. You're listening to the Alpha 5 podcast. I'm Frank, a.k.a. PJ, here with John, Jonah, Fabian, and joining us, our two guests. Back is Phil, and for the first time, Brandon. Fellas, what is going on? What is going on?
what's popping, my
What's
guy?
up?
Thanks for having me.
I'm happy to have you guys, especially for this conversation. We're going to be hitting on the big topic going on, racism. Ooh, right?
Everybody's favorite.
We've got Phil and Brandon with us, not only because they are some dope-ass guys with some awesome opinions, but also to represent really the other race in the argument, to represent the white side, because we figured, hey, if it's just four brown guys sitting here complaining, that it may not come off as genuine. But we also want to illustrate to each and everybody out there that it is possible to have these conversations respectfully, get what you're thinking, what you're feeling out there, so that we can all come to a common conclusion and resolve to all of this turmoil that has taken over this country. So previously, John, Fabian, Phil, and Brandon had recorded a prelude, if you would, to this conversation that we will be referencing in this. So if you haven't heard it yet, be sure to find us on YouTube, and you can catch the video for that and kind of get up to speed with the whole conversation, not just what we refer back to. In this situation, really, Brandon, I'm going to start off with you. Early on in the prelude, you had mentioned that we're all rats in a cage in this country, right? And it was really profound. It resonated with me, and I agree with you, right? But I do think that one thing that needs to be acknowledged is that we're not all in the same cage. A big thing, especially with economics, right, is it's the rat race, and how you're going to finish the rat race, how you're going to get to the end of it. We are all in that race, but with different advantages, right? Some of us can take the shortcuts. Some of us have the cheat codes, right? And a lot of it does have to do with race. And I mean, that's my opinion. I couldn't help but wonder, like, if you guys thought differently about that, or if that's just been my experience.
So from my standpoint, I guess, for me, like the whole white privilege, I think it almost stops at dollar signs. On the rats in a cage, I guess it would better be spoken to like animals in a zoo. I didn't have any like privileges per se. My childhood came up from my dad at a very early age, got into drugs, got real bad off. Long story short, ended up real bad through divorce and everything. He's living under a bridge somewhere. I haven't talked to him in years. So I haven't really experienced that white privilege. When people speak to things of saying wouldn't be held against me, just my skin color. I can't deny that there is in certain areas discrimination, but it plays off in both things. I don't think it acts as a whole. I've got a big saying: don't let the actions of a few speak as the many. I've been in areas where primarily Hispanic, and I didn't have no chance for a job. Vice versa, in areas where predominantly black, and I didn't have much of a chance for a job. So speaking from that nature, I felt like I haven't been given a free pass per se that kind of is the media portray out there as a whole these days.
Okay.
And I see, so I don't always see that as, I think that's a very, and we talked about the media before. I think that's a very media specific kind of focus on it. This idea that if you have white privilege, that means that you didn't experience any hardship, or that white privilege means that white people don't grow up with the same issues as people of other colors, or don't suffer from issues like drug addiction and things like that. I think it's with regards to like your last name, whatever it is, won't limit you from getting a job nowadays. It used to be maybe back in the day, because I know everybody wants to talk about, no Irish need apply, and, they wouldn't have hired me because of my Polish last name. But nowadays, it's if they see Frank's last name, You know, if you see Fabian's last name, there's a possibility that people would be less likely to hire somebody with a traditionally Spanish name, a traditionally what you might call a black name. People would be less likely to hire them. I don't think white privilege, like we're talking about economic differences, right? And I don't think white privilege means that white people aren't poor. I think white privilege is a systemic thing. I don't think it's a specific thing. And I don't think, and I don't know, go ahead, sorry.
So you were mentioning systemic, so like systemic racism.
Mhm.
I mean, for that, I would say, for one, just for sake of conversation, where I'm assuming through last conversations, you lean more to the left as a Democrat. Through systemic
Well-
racism, you know, the Democrats were the number ones who voted against the Civil Rights Bill back in the 1960s.
So
and
wait, but do we want to
speaking
talk
to
about
that-
the poll
Speaking
shift?
to that, I'm
between-
just saying, if you take for typical conversation, we'll just take black and white right now. If you look at the statistics of unemployment, of wealth, of opportunity, of success, if you take black and white as a whole, the numbers are pretty mixed. Now, if you factor in fatherlessness, education, upbringing, across the board, the statistics, the percentages are even for pretty much every race all across the board. It's you can look at the Census Bureau.
You always worry me when you start these things and then you get to the end point and I'm like, oh, okay, that's not where he's going to go. Because you said fatherless. You start talking about like I was like, oh no, I don't know where he's going to go with all this. So I'm glad that you went in the direction that you did, because I got really, really worried. So when you talk about the Democrats who we talk about civil rights. However,
Mhm.
the two parties shifted significantly during the 1960s. And the people that would have voted for Democrats then now vote Republican. And I was
I
watching.
disagree with that. I've heard that's kind of the media given, but I still disagree with that.
It's history. Dixiecrats. I mean, the Southern Democrats who then shifted. And I was watching 13th today on Netflix, which is a really, really good documentary about how essentially we legalized slavery again by mass incarceration of black people. But
so when did the switch happen? Is it
so it starts? So really, it's the 60s, the Dixiecrats who shifted and then became Republicans through late 60s, early 70s. But then in the 80s, particularly, Ronald Reagan brought these people along with the tough on crime, and it's laid out in.
So what about the Great Society Act that was passed mainly by Democrats through the 70s through the 80s?
What he's talking about is the appeal to states' rights, which was a big thing for the Southern Democrats, and they wanted to bring them into the fold. So they appealed to the idea of states' rights, and that's what you get the Dixiecrats. And
I'm sorry, the Dixiecrat period.
And even they try to do that too. Well, Ronald Reagan, I think, did a little bit of that too. And I forget what the actual.
Ronald Reagan was more about law enforcement, which essentially, and the thing was, I think, I think it was Reagan's guy in 13th. The guy, they literally have a recording of the guy explaining that in the 60s, you say, Winston, please, you say three times. Say three times. Nigga. That's what the guy said. The white guy says, you say that in the 60s, and then it shifts to to lower taxes. And then essentially you shift the dog whistle politics. And what they did was they brought kind of the racism and all these things into it. And the dog whistle was law and order. And law and order means lock up brown people.
Here's the thing, though. All right. So you guys, you brought politics into it, which does play a factor, but it's a lot more than that. Go ahead, John.
I want to say to white privilege, I think it's kind of y'all are on the right trail, but I think you're missing the mark. What it is really, and I can tell you this as a black person. To me, what it is white privilege. To me, is your fear of not being. You're not going to get killed by the cops. Like, that. Like, you don't have. I'll give you an example today, right? State trooper. I'm on the highway and I see him coming from behind, right? Flashing lights, and I'm like, oh shit, my heart drops and I am terrified. I wasn't speeding, I was purposely going 64 just so I don't get in trouble. This is the kind of shit and precautions that I take. Do y'all take those kind of precautions? Because I'm always watching. I'm always worried. If I see a cop and I'm 35, I'll be 35 in July. I am terrified. I'm talking about. I tense up and all these stuff come through my mind. I got to tell my wife, and the cop didn't even do nothing to me yet. This is trauma. And so since you don't have to worry about those things, you could still have, drug problems in the family and all this stuff. Your white privilege is the fact that you don't have to. Your hardships don't come from
this. You're
And
saying,
I
I
think
mean,
that's a
because of your
systemic issue.
your
Right.
skin color, just a cop pulling in behind you makes you nervous. I mean, I get nervous too. I don't want a ticket for anything.
No,
But
my heart.
He
Yeah.
didn't
heart
say he's
starts
nervous about
beating,
getting a
like-
ticket. He's
Listen,
nervous
with
about getting
that said,
shot.
have you ever
But he's nervous
fought
about
against
getting
the cops?
killed.
Have you ever
But wait.
fought against the cops? Have you
But wait
ever
a second. Hold on.
tried
But
to
wait.
resist? Have you tried to?
But wait, Brandon,
You
your
have-
point.
I'm not
but
saying-
wait.
Experienced like any hard stuff where they've thrown you down, they fucked with you hardcore.
Absolutely.
Okay, I have too. At the
They
same
fucked me up
time,
plenty of
it's
times.
not a
In high
majority
school.
of the time. They're bad cops for sure. But
But wait
I
a
just-
second. But you just made the point. Your concern was that you're going to get a ticket. John's concern is that he's going to get shot and killed.
Well, and that-
Statistically, I have a
and
those
that's
are
it.
totally
Well,
different
chance of getting
concerns.
shot and killed than John does. Statistically, I have a higher likelihood of getting shot and killed
statistically?
than John does.
How?
Statistically,
Whether
every year,
whether
almost twice
statistically
the
or not,
times
you still don't
white
live with
men
that fear.
are
So
shot and killed by law
But wait, but
the statistics
disproportionality.
don't tell the story. Whether you
But
statistically
percentages
what's
do.
more likely to happen or not, you still don't.
How
feel
many
that way.
percentage
And
of
I
African
do.
Americans
Oh, I
each
don't know.
year?
I don't know.
get
I just know
killed by
it's
police, though?
disproportional. It's not
How about-
13%. It's not
But
13%
how
of the people
many
shot by
percent
cops
a
are not
year?
black people.
How
It's
many
more than
percent
13.
a year do African American men? We'll take African American.
Well-
how many per a year? 12? No, it's
But also, I mean, if we're so we want to
13% of the
address
population.
race. We want to
That's a lot
address
how many
race,
get
and
killed.
police are not a real
every
cross section
year,
of race.
just a percentage
You're
every
making
year.
John drink.
Every year, just
Stop.
how many percentage
Alcohol's
of
delicious.
African Americans
I
are
don't
killed
know.
by police?
I'd have to look that
Less
up.
than 1%. Sometimes right at
Wait,
1%.
less than 1% of the
Can I ask
African
y'all a
American people that
Caucasians,
die.
I wanna-
it's just a little above 1%. Hispanic, it's just a little above 1%. When you take it as a whole, I agree. African Americans are 13-14% of the population.
This is what bothers me. I don't mean to cut you off, but it's every time it seems to me, right? And this is not y'all, right? But in general, when I see a black person say, "Yo, these are my experiences. I feel this," immediately somebody comes back with numbers, and I don't understand.
Black people become statistics.
This is all it comes down to.
Not people.
Every time somebody says cops kill us, it's always, well, what about black on black crime? I attribute that because there is a moral dilemma that I think most white people have, that they want to keep their sanctity. They want to know that they're on the good side of history, but they also want to keep their white privilege intact. So they get to say these things to make them morally okay with it. You understand?
Yeah.
Like the numbers don't mean shit. You can say, well, black on black crime is X, Y, and Z. But again, we've had this conversation. Black people are going to go to jail for the crimes that they commit. The white cops aren't.
And
And it takes it now for white people to see, yo, white people are being treated by the cops how black people are getting treated by the cops. And that's why you see the riots that you do.
It's funny, though, because, like, a cop pulls up behind me, right? I initially probably get like, oh, shit, like, what kind of cop is this going to be, right?
Mhm.
But I don't think I get but that's what I'm saying. I think that's like because everyone knows, like, you can catch a cop on his good day, a cop on his bad day, right? But I don't think I ever necessarily fear for my life the way John's describing, right? And I mean, I'm brown, you know what I mean? I'm pretty sure that Fabian's had that same experience. Jonah, I'm curious on your side. We'll get there in a sec. So because of my experiences, it makes me wonder if there's more at play in the interactions than what's just in the numbers or in the individual experiences. Like, let's say, like John said, there's a situation that we've actually talked about many a times that John and I were in together. We went through together, getting pulled over in Monroe, New York. Young teenagers getting pulled out the car illegally searched, all that, right? But my response to that situation in my life has been completely different, almost polar opposite of how John has since reacted to it, right? So I can't help but wonder if there's more than just really what lies on the surface of that stuff. Because I personally believe that there's some cultural aspects to it. Like what you're taught within your culture that attributes to the fear, right? Because if you have a bunch of your friends are coming telling you that they had the same exact experience as you did, right? You're more likely to agree with the narrative that it represents, right?
Right.
That's how it translated to you. But clearly for us, we went through a similar situation, and that's what it was for you. It wasn't for me. It was wrong. It translated as that, but
I think I'm going to have revisionist history. The first riot was before that happened between us, right?
Say that again.
We had a riot. We had a riot.
Yeah. When did this situation which you guys happen?
This was the last.
I think we were 17.
Right.
So the first riot was 10th grade. I remember because I was in Mrs. Slaver's Spanish class and watched people rioting outside.
It was the last day of Black History Month. I remember it forever. And y'all know,
well, white people call it February, but yeah.
Well, yeah, but you know, it was. The thing is, it was a leap year.
For us, it's just February.
The thing is, it was a leap year, and it was the 29th, right?
Oh, man.
So we decide to protest as kids in high school, and the cops pretty much beat the shit out of me that day.
You incited the riot. I remember. All I remembered hearing, but you didn't. I know you didn't, and you didn't organize it, and you did nothing of the sort. But all I remembered hearing that day, because I knew we obviously knew one another, was that Winston got arrested for inciting the riot, and I didn't understand that day. Even that day, I understood. Well, he's a you're tall. I mean, you're not big. You're a big black kid.
I was taller than everybody
else.
All
right.
So makes sense. That was how I interpreted it at 15 years old. Sorry, I cut you off.
I got to follow up.
So they put me in a side stairwell. They put me up against the wall, and they beat the shit. They didn't do all the other shit where people were saying they put plungers up my ass and stuff. They didn't do all of that, right?
That's terrible.
But what they did to a child, to a minor, was beat the shit out of me. They threw me up against the wall. They put elbows in me. They was punching me, and then they threw me in a storage closet. At 15 years old, in the high school, the elevator that went into the auditorium, there was a room there.
That caused that, because I didn't know what you had done. I thought you did what everybody else did.
Because we were at the door, and the cops was telling us to stop, and I'm like, yo, let's just keep going. And they didn't like that I said that.
Yo,
all right.
Here's some crazy shit though.
Real
I heard you yelled something.
Jonah, before you get into that,
Okay.
before you get it, first of all, you getting beat was not right. But
over here to me.
Why, hold on a second. Why are you talking to the side?
No, because he's over here to me. Everybody has a different grid.
Yeah,
I'm like, yo, wait, hold on a second.
Winston is here.
On the recording, it's gonna make sense. It's entertaining to me. I'm sorry.
Like, yo, wait, what the, to me, it looks like you're talking to the fucking air.
Jonah, where am I?
Not you're totally here for me, bro.
You're down here.
You're down here somewhere. Like
you're here. All right, go on, Frank.
All right. Yeah, keep going.
John did not deserve to get beat. Clearly, right? Well, I mean, whatever happened likely should not have happened. But, right?
I know what
he's sitting here saying like, "Oh, I was just saying that we should go." No, he wasn't saying it like that. He was inciting the chaos.
How do those boots taste, Frank?
He was getting everybody built up.
So I'm the one that told him to rush out of the cafeteria.
That's what I had heard, though. I had heard that you had done that.
I had not done any of that. It wasn't until the front doors. Until the front doors. That's the only time I said anything during the whole process. Other than
and that's when they caught him.
Yes, but I didn't.
They booked him up.
But the narrative is John Winston did it all, right?
So, to add to this,
I didn't say you did it all. I didn't say
I
you did
didn't
it all.
know any. I obviously wasn't there. I don't know any of the rumors. So from an unbiased standpoint, one of the things that you said to me that stood out was when you were walking out, they were like, "Stop here," and you were like, "No, fuck that, keep going." You didn't comply.
But notice how he said it. Notice how he said it. He made himself seem innocent.
I have a really good I have a really good counterpoint to that.
Justify beating up a fucking child.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. And I believe we do have police brutality problems.
I don't care what I said. What all these protests are about too.
It doesn't matter what I said. It doesn't matter if I actually incited.
And I think we all agree on that. I think that's what the problem is that everybody agrees on that.
But wait,
I think the number one powerful thing that could happen in America today, the number one thing out of anything else, the number one thing that would destroy police brutality, everything, self-accountability. If you know you're going to get a certain reaction why go through that point? It's almost like being a little kid and throwing a temper
But you
tantrum.
also shouldn't
There
have
are
to control.
times for
You
it.
shouldn't
Wait a
have to
second.
control
Yo,
yourself.
hold on a second.
Here's
Yo,
one thing I
yo,
want you
Go
to
ahead, Jonah.
understand.
Hold on a second. No, hold on a second. Yo,
Let Jonah go. Let Jonah go.
I
Jonah, be
agree.
quiet.
Now, hold on a second. I agree. I agree with that because I'm one who believes in self accountability. However, the bullshit part about it is like all right, take this for example, right? In my old neighborhood, where I grew up at, right? We wasn't bad kids, we did typical kid shit. You know what I'm saying? Be outside
Broken
on the
the
streets,
cars,
running around.
stole
No. We didn't do that shit. We just, we just ran the
Right to the
street.
criminal
Go-
activity.
We all did. We all did.
Yo,
It was
I
Yonkers,
think-
bro. Come
yo,
on now. I don't care what color you are. It's
and
Yonkers.
it was like literally the next block over next to
Yo,
school
we need
street.
to
So
really
all right,
have
whatever.
a conversation about stereotypes.
Listen. No, hold on a second.
We are discussing race, huh?
The worst thing me and the homies did on the block was just sit outside and drink, right? Granted, Brandon, I know you're gonna be like, well, listen, man, you guys are doing some illegal
It's
shit.
against the law.
Here in New York, I don't know how it is in Texas or in Philly. Here in New York, you can't obviously drink outside. You can't have the open container outside, right? Cool, whatever. We did. But the one of my friends who happened to be the one who was old enough to drink, he got arrested, and like 2 18-year-olds, right? Because at the time I was still like maybe 16. They got arrested, and they didn't even get taken to the precinct. They got took to the nearest pier and got their ass whooped. Got their asses whooped, and then told, "Have a good day, man. Go back home. No rest, no nothing. Just take the ass, get their ass whooped, and come back."
So
know what I'm
I'll
saying?
tell you a
That
story that happened to me
mentality.
when I was 17 years old. I
right,
picked
so-
up a Hispanic girl and a white girl, me and a buddy. We went to the river. We were out there drinking. We were all underage. The cops came out there. It was actually lake rangers that came out there. Found us. We were back in the back of the truck making out with the girls. They sent the girls on their way. I think they knew their dads or somebody in town like that. They beat our ass at the river, towed our vehicle, and left us there to walk almost 16 miles. Both of us white as could be, pasty. I was sunburnt back then, actually, because I spent like an hour and a half in the sun. And it was just like, but I mean, so I think it exists in all races. And I don't think that a lot of people right now are having an issue with saying what happened to George Floyd was terrible. But what happened to Tony Timba? Nobody's speaking of that. There's never any outrage when there's, even if it's Hispanic, Edgar, you have to forgive me for the name, but it was almost a similar incident where a police officer arrived at his household and didn't announce himself and was shot dead in the household. It happens in so many different races, but we only seem to talk about it when it's like whether it be liberal, Democrat, whatever you say, a driven media standpoint where they push it. And,
Let me ask you a question. Why is it that white people and Hispanic people don't do what black people do? Because clearly you can see now, if you want to say it's not about race, then it's about power, and they're abusing it. And so
Absolutely.
why are even still, take the race out of it. If it's about power, still, why are we the only ones? If I've seen some white people be abused by white cops, and that shit is fucked up. Y'all should be taking the streets with us.
And
do.
now they are. I mean, now people are in the street,
And they have been.
But I think Brandon's actually right about this one. It's a media thing. Media manipulates the narrative, and also a lot of the times, I mean, in these situations, it stems from videos. So why didn't I forget the kid's name? But the kid
clips of videos, edited clips.
But the kid
Yo, I got
in
a
the
question.
hotel where he was an exterminator, and he had a pellet gun, and somebody called the cops and said they saw him, and the cop was yelling directions to crawl at him, and the cop shot him 3 times with an AR, killed him, and the cop got off, and that was a white person, and nobody.
I don't remember that kid's name, but yeah,
you know
that
what
was,
I'm talking about. So
yeah.
go ahead, Jonah. Sorry.
Here's a quick question, right? Because John and I seem to side on a lot of this whole race thing, right? But I do also like to see things on, both sides of the coins and then make my own decision. And I have seen cops killing other people other than just the black people, right? But going back to the media stuff, it only seems to be the media is showing just cops killing black people. So my question is, if the media showed actually the cops killing just everyone as a whole, right? Can we all agree that, hey, the cops are the issue and we should address that situation? Or will it still be hey, Black lives do matter? I'm not saying that they don't. Because clearly, black people aren't their lives aren't taken more serious than other people, right? Than the white people. But
Joan, is your question should it be or is it? Because
I want to answer it.
like
what you're saying
is it? I guess.
If we come to the conclusion that police is abusing everybody, not just black people, are we all gonna just focus that energy, take it all a little less off of Black Lives Matter? And it's just like fuck the police.
Well, I feel like isn't that what's happening now? Isn't that
that's what you're
Philly? That's what's happening.
I don't think so.
What we're doing is as a unit.
I would just like to touch on that real quick. With that being said, there should never another conversation about why certain guns are needed and not needed. Just my standpoint.
I mean,
I'll ping at the drone when it drops a bomb on me.
Hold on, let John finish his statement. Hold up, let John finish his statement.
Right, and what I was saying was this is just the police brutality. White people are now seeing it for themselves. They're experiencing what black people have been experiencing from law enforcement forever, since police started, right? That's why white people are getting outraged. But that is policing is just one part of the systemic racism that goes on in here. So to answer your question, yeah, we can all attack police brutality, but Black Lives Matter is more than just about our lives being taken by police. It's about equity and equality. It's about the economic disadvantages, the housing. It's about all of this. We don't want just equal justice for cops to go to jail, just like we want equal everything, equity. I want to have this no fear, just like Phil has no fear of the cops. That's what I'm trying.
I'm going to be honest. I don't think it's ever going to happen in your lifetime.
Even if it doesn't happen in my lifetime.
I'm not saying it's never going to happen because I don't want to say it's never going to happen. But our lifetime, I generally don't think it will happen. And I'm not going to stop fighting alongside with you, to make sure to hope that it does. Go ahead, John.
Unfortunately, John, I agreed with everything you said up until that point. And the reason why I agree with you, I can't agree with you on this part is because, in my opinion, right, and I think to a certain degree, every one of us in here have some sort of entrepreneurial, spearhead, right? We have that gene in us, right? And because of that, I also feel like in this day and age, there's so much opportunity for us. We just don't choose to take advantage of those opportunities. One being, why don't we all just come together and build our own? You know what I'm saying?
That gets actually into something that I wanted to talk about.
Power.
Listen, it's going to go right to Tulsa, Oklahoma. They burnt it down when they tried to do that.
Look at the game.
We can do it. We can do it. We can do that right now.
Oh, so you're talking about actually that was a big thing when I was watching 13 today that I was talking with my wife about, is a big reason, and they were mentioning it, is why in the 60s, why the FBI was looking at all these black leaders and why all these black leaders were being murdered by cops, is because they were the ones that were putting together this large population of people. And when black people and white people and Hispanic people all get together and realize that these problems exist, the people in power, who are really a small minority, they're fucked. And they can't have that. So they direct the other people who they pay off. I mean, if you look at, J. Edgar Hoover and all them made a ton of money being top cops and stuff like that. They did that, and they eliminated the people's ability to get together. And another thing is right-wing politics makes it really, really difficult for people to organize, because their big thing is they don't want you organizing for certain causes. They don't want people uniting and getting together. They want homogenous populations.
But
we're talking about a party who has one candidate right now versus a party who had 24 in the beginning.
Hold on.
What do you mean?
The entire Republican Party is with Trump for that fact that, and Black Americans, Hispanic Americans, everybody can agree that with the economy of what we've had, everybody's unemployment rate has been, I want to touch on something that I think most Americans, I think, and I would say from probably, I think I've even heard you, John, say it, several Americans, when you make the statement of make America great again. And everybody's like, when was it great? When was it great? Well, my personal opinion from greatness, I would say between the 1940s to the 1960s, and it was probably one of the best.
Did you just tell that to a black man? You just tell it to a black man? You just mentioned
so you don't think that was the period, because between the 1940s and the 1960s, Black Americans experienced one of the most prosperous times of any culture in American history as far as wealth growth and community growth. They've experienced more hand over fist than Caucasian or Hispanic.
Yeah, because there's nowhere to go but up.
Got equality.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go but up when you were
when you're at the bottom. Where else are you going to go?
Years before.
So But with that being said, that was your right wings who voted that in for your civil rights after
But all right,
after everything going in.
wait,
You're talking
I
about.
explained that.
Pause
The
on the
shift.
play. Pause on the play. Do you guys notice, and this is part of the problem, part and parcel, throughout this whole conversation thus far, right? Everything has led back to politics, right? When politics are supposed to be driven by the people. Is that a fair assumption to say, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, quite frankly, for the rest of this podcast, I challenge everybody in here to keep politics the fuck out of it, because right now this is an us problem. This is a problem of the people. It's not a problem of politics. It doesn't matter if you're left or you're right. This is a problem that exists in this country.
There are
Period.
definitely things that are legislative things that have to be changed to affect.
Absolutely.
That's politics.
Right, but those things are going to change with a change in the mindset of the people and recognizing an overall problem. But coming to a joint conclusion to move forward.
But a big thing about coming together to move forward, I mean, like working together as a people, that's like communism. That's what that is getting together as a group of people, right? Gathering as a group of people, power of the people. What you're talking about is communism. Is
communism and power of the people?
Communism is power of the people. It's the lower classes, the people.
How is communism power of the people?
Well, there's a lot more communism than that. I mean,
communism is power of the people based on what the people think they want because of what they've been driven to. You know, if you get out of politics into it, that's the main point.
Well, no, I mean, if you look at communism, the concept is that the people who are being subjugated by the ruling class rise up and say, we're not going to take this shit anymore. And I'm not saying that we need to become a communist country. I am not Karl Marx. I'm not even saying that. I'm just saying that whole concept. That is what communism is. That's what it begins as.
But what I'm saying, though, is fundamentally, we need to realize that it starts here. It starts with me. It starts with you guys individually before we can start bringing all this politics shit into it, right? We got to stop blaming the right, stop blaming the left. It's within us, because even if you want to blame that, anybody that's within these positions of power, we put there.
Well, you want to talk, okay, so taking politics out of it. If you completely separate it from right to left.
It's a great question, but then at the end of the day, Jonah, you got to separate the politics to get to the humanity out of it. Because if you're going to sit here and keep arguing left and right, when are you going to get to the base root of the problem? Because the politics didn't create the hatred. The politics didn't create the fear.
It's a product of it.
It's right. Correct.
Yeah.
But the politics kind of did drive.
But it's cyclical because you're saying it's cyclical because it preys on that.
You look at the debate of race in general. Everybody has everybody here has a small semblance of some history. Did race exist in Europe before America?
Yes.
Race.
Yes.
Like, so Germans were like, oh
yeah, nationalism. I mean, you have to remember.
Not nationalism, race.
Well, no, but I mean,
I have no idea.
Yeah, race.
I mean, well, you have to look at how Europe was prior to that and the concept of countries and things like that. I mean, Italy hasn't been a country. Germany hasn't been a country longer than the U.S. A lot of those places weren't really. They were nations. They were groups of people, ethnic groups, some of them, races. I mean, when we see race, we see color in the U.S. It's different.
White people didn't call themselves white people until America.
Hold on a second, John. Hold on a second, John.
Yes.
John, in theory, or maybe not in theory, but in short, yes, race did exist in Europe. Why? Because Europeans started where we are.
But there was also a type of division. So, I mean, when you say, like, did this concept of homogenous white people and homogenous black people exist? No. People separated themselves, the Slavs, and there were the people from this area, the Franks, the Ottomans, the Turks.
Right.
I guess the Turks were the Ottomans.
That existed.
Is that what you mean?
But if you didn't open your mouth or you didn't dress a certain way, you wouldn't know, right? It wasn't until America, right, where this concept of white people and black people really started to flourish.
I don't think so.
I don't know if I believe that.
I don't know if I agree with that. I don't know. So hold on a second, John. The reason why, at least for me, the reason why I say I don't know if I agree with that wholeheartedly is because
I don't know enough to say.
Pretty sure
Europe. Well, Europe when they went out, when they went out to freaking go bring, steal the people from Africa, bring them over, at some point in that transition, it was like, okay, we whites are much better than these blacks. So it had to start over there. Like at some
okay, so we could talk about the age of exploration, right? And it began with the Portuguese and the Spanish looking to get to India. And essentially they went down, they tried going down and around Africa, and that's how they found Africa. Yeah. And they were trying to figure that shit out, going from spot to spot, dotting their way. Vasco da Gama, Bartholomew Diaz. They found it for they had not known it existed. So I'm not saying that they discovered it, they found it. But that whole idea of race, I mean, they saw those people, and I assume that they had seen or had not seen some. I guess I'm assuming they had not seen somebody like that before. But they immediately thought they were less. I mean, I'm pretty sure it was the Greeks invented the word barbarian because they heard other people and they heard their sound. The sounds of their language sounded like bar to them. Sounded like they were in bar. So that's what barbarian comes from. And then we think of barbarians as like uncivilized people, right?
Right.
Ethnocentrism and all that stuff existed in Europe. The United States, you have to remember, super diverse. Diversity is what leads to our racism, essentially, because we have the opportunity to see different people and expose ourselves to different people, and then some people get to hate them.
America wasn't that diverse until pretty much the turn of the 19th century, when you really had an influx of immigrants. But before that, there were natives, there were whites.
That's a diverse collection of people who each lived in their own group and hated each other. I mean,
so America was founded on America was stolen in the first place. I mean, I'm actually somewhere around 30% something Native American, but it doesn't matter. I'm mainly Caucasian. But going back to let's talk about the transatlantic slave trade. Like through somewhere in the 1500s to 1866, basically, there was something around 12 million slaves shipped. 12 million slaves. 10 million something survived. Okay, out of that percentage,
like died
about 350,000 of those slaves came to America. The majority of them went to Brazil. The majority went to Brazil.
It was 600,000.
And Brazil's just as racist.
In history books, the idea of everything how it comes into the whole white America comes from that. They basically want you to think that all 12 million of those slaves came to America, and white men held them as captives. And in fact, the majority, a good majority of those 12 million, somewhere around 7 million, were sold from other tribes who had wars and captured and went and sold them as slaves to the Europeans.
You're right. Let's give context to what you said, but because the slavery that you're talking about, and they were sold into indentured slavery, kind of similar to what the Irish were going through. So it was you go to America, you work for a few years, you come back with this payment. This
indentured servitude. Yeah.
This is what the deal was. That's why black people sold themselves into slavery. What they got was chattel slavery, which was a total flip of the contract and not what they discussed. When that Middle Passage stuff was happening, the transatlantic slave trade, millions of black people were shipped across the ocean. A lot of them didn't make it, were dumped in the ocean, and they were spread apart. So that's kind of where all of this stuff comes from. It wasn't.
Well, I will argue that millions of African Americans weren't born into slavery, into that sense of how many it affected throughout the livelihood of between the 1500 to 1866. I mean, that's,
right. Well, I guess my point is when people say black people sold black people, that is a cop-out to try to make it seem, again, to deflect responsibility. It was like that, but that's not the whole story.
And I don't think it matters.
I don't think it deflects responsibility. I think it touches on the exact point that each race is more racist against their own race.
No, that's not a thing.
More black people than anybody else every year. More white people kill more white people every other year.
That's the dumbest shit I've ever heard.
White people have sold white people into. I'm just saying.
That doesn't make them racist against their own race. They didn't do it because they were white.
The most dangerous thing to a white man out there is another white man.
If a black man accepts another black man to the slavery, that doesn't mean he's another African
American man.
That doesn't mean shit for racism, though. That's like, white man killed a white man. It doesn't mean that some white people don't hate black people. I mean, that doesn't mean shit.
I don't think that. I think there are a small majority of white Americans out there who are strongly just opposed to African Americans just because of the color of their skin.
But
they don't speak for all of us as a whole. Obviously, you don't agree with that. What I'm saying is that what we have is right now a media-driven standpoint to grab a hold of what goes towards their narrative. There are so many other issues out there and so many other things. And for the factor to answer the question we talked about earlier, African-American, take African-American men, the percentage of African-American men killed every year is roughly around 1% from police officers, for law enforcement officers, whether black or white. So that is one of the most That is one of the least and most things to be afraid of. The same as white Americans. We have more to fear from our own race, from our own civilians, people coming out there from us, than what we do against. Now,
I'm
gonna tell you,
like me
absolutely
murdered
not.
on TV
Yo, Brandon, I think
and get away with it.
You started with a really good point and just like went way off the rails.
it's crazy, man. Because I agree with you, Phil, man. Because Brandon, I was agreeing with you
100%.
up until the very end,
Brandon.
man. Because I think the part that we're missing here is that when a white cop kills black people, right? They get away with it. We all can agree that we kill each other, right? Black people kill each other. Black people kill black people. White people kill white people. We all kill each other.
Now,
but when a cop does it, now I'll take it a step further. When a cop does it to a white man, a black man, a Spanish man, a gray man, a blue man, a yellow man, whichever man, he gets away with it.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Black
And,
cops
and
don't,
Brandon, that was your
Black
point.
cops
That was a
don't
good
get away
point
with
you
it.
made.
Hold on a second,
but-
John. I don't know if I can agree with you on that because till this very day, and I haven't researched this, so maybe this is why I can't. But I have not seen a black cop kill someone and not get away with it. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen black cops really kill too many people.
Oh no,
Freddie Gray.
I've seen black cops. I've seen black cops kill white guys.
Many. I've seen it. I haven't seen too many.
So what Brandon's saying though is I correct me if I'm wrong, Brandon. What he's saying though is when you look at the statistics, and I can't confirm or deny what he's saying in that regard.
Right.
The percentages across the races that are killed by police officers' hands are relatively equal across the races. That's what he's saying, right?
Fairly close.
Okay. But
you do
when
have
you
to
look
factor
at
in some things like in inner city Chicago, there is obviously going to be a lot more African American men killed than Caucasian. The population is strongly African American in that sense.
But when you look at the media side of stuff, right? What he's saying is what's thrown in our faces, what's made relevant for the general population is when it's a white cop and a black perpetrator, for lack of a better way of calling it right now, because I've been drinking. Right? So he's saying what's being presented, right, is, and what we're being fed, what the hype is being fed, right, is that kind of narrative, that we're being driven towards that type of narrative. And I don't know if I can't necessarily disagree with that, because you don't see the white cop killing the white guy. You don't see the white cop killing the Asian guy. You don't see the black cop killing the white guy. Jonah just referred to that. You really don't hear much about that, right? But when the white cop,
you don't see any Asian cops killing no race. Them Asians are sneaky.
Asian cop watched the murder. Are you? And yes, right, I have separately
turned his back.
I've heard of Asian cops killing black people.
So I'm going to do some math. I did some math right now. So 429 people have been shot by cops this year. 88 of them have been black. So 88 divided by 429, that's 20%. That is disproportional to the population of black people in our country, which is 13.6%.
Damn, during a quarantine at that? Fuck.
So no, that's that. Yeah, right. So that's this year. This is according to Statista.
Now divide that amount. How many did you say out of 88? How many is the population of African American in this country?
13%.
It's 13% is the black population.
13% of what are we at? Like 6 something. What's the population?
How many million people?
350
million
people in this country. 30 million of those.
How many of them were white, Phil?
Okay, so 88 out of 30 million. What is 88 out of 30 million?
Well, wait, hold on. I'm not talking about that. I'm not like we're not.
No, let's talk about that though.
But that's a strange
88
thing.
out of 30 million. What percentage is that?
That's a strange thing. Though. I mean, like,
not 88 out of 30 million.
But I mean, but it's not like every black person encounters a cop every day, or every black person. Like
you have to take it out of the total amount.
That's a weird way to break it down, though. And I know what you're trying to do, and I get the point. Is that a cop is not as much of a threat to a black person, maybe as I don't know, a helicopter blade or something else chopping their head off. Like,
So
I get your point. Like, there's plenty of other ways black people die. Like, John, don't get in a car because you could die in a car accident. So why are you afraid of cops? Like, is that what you're trying to say?
Well, we're talking about the ultimate of death too, and
Yeah.
a lot of the times it doesn't go as far as death. A lot of the times it goes as far as you getting the holy shit beaten out of you and robbed for your money. And
Well,
I'll give you a story.
I think I could sum it up like this from somebody from my standpoint. It comes down to this: we agree wholeheartedly there is an issue at hand in America with not just police brutality, but government overstep, and we try to group up.
All of it.
But when something happens, like previously when I pulled out my toys that I was cleaning, feel your reaction right away. That standpoint, that mindset of what you get.
I think you misinterpreted my
So in
reaction.
having these important conversations that we should be having about the real issues, we're going back to race. We're going back to separation, politics, things like that. And it's
can't
it's
avoid
because
race.
of the separation they're doing it.
I think
you
your
can,
guns
though.
are really
So-
cool.
We
I think
stopped
your
talking
guns are
about it.
really cool.
You're no longer an African American, John. You're
Very
an
cool
American.
weapon.
Yeah,
I'm
but
an
this country
American.
was built off of
TJ's
that
an American,
concept.
Jonah's
It
an
is
American. We're
America's
all
original sin
Americans.
that we have never, ever talked about. Every time somebody tries to talk to a white person about race, I get the same reaction that you just gave me.
It's defensive.
It's not
We did
about
talk
race. We
about
all
it in
need
the
to come together.
1960s, and the
But
vast
we need-
majority agreed it was wrong.
It's
That's why we
America.
have to
It's
fight
not about
people.
agreeing it's wrong. It's about having the actual conversation. Why Jews don't listen, people want to talk to Jews about the Holocaust. Everybody gets
What the
peppered.
Jews do?
My point is
Jews do.
You.
everybody's okay having these conversations about everybody else's problems, but when black people talk about slavery, it's always move on. And
Yeah,
See, that's why I stand different. I don't like talking about the Jews for the Holocaust.
That
They did Reformation.
we
it was a
have to have
horrible
this
tragedy that
conversation.
existed. I don't think
have
we
to
should
have
talk
them.
about the history. We should talk about
All
our
right,
future.
guys, let's talk
And
about
that's
the
problem
Jews.
We
with
have to
America.
talk about the history.
Everybody's too busy trying to prove why they're right.
But here's the thing.
Instead of
Here's the thing.
acknowledging why they're wrong.
Wait a second.
And that's
But-
where it exists.
Wait a second.
You know
But
what?
hold
I
up,
actually
wait.
agree with Phil. I agree with you.
Oh,
Ben
great.
on
You're going
that
to rip
one,
on the Jews too, John? No,
Nah,
hold on.
nah.
But the one thing.
Phil. I love you to death, man. We got off to a real good start. But
Nah, we're great. We're great.
Listen,
Here's the thing that I want to say.
My thoughts
though.
on Jews, bro, will probably end our relationship.
Wow.
You
Dude,
should
dude,
say
they-
that.
wait,
Listen,
wait, wait.
internet, please don't.
Hold on.
Jonas said that.
Wait, hold on.
Wait, real
All
quick.
right.
Jonas' views and takes do not reflect the Alpha 5 podcast.
I got.
So wait, hold on.
No better.
I want to say one thing though about that. So the Holocaust, though, that's not American history, right? Slavery is.
I would agree with
Jim
that.
Crow is. Segregation is. Spraying people with water hoses. Beating people for sitting at lunch counters. All of that is American history. So it's easy to say, like, you can talk to me about what happened in Germany to people that I wasn't related to because my family left what's now Ukraine in the late 1800s because we didn't want to be, my great-grandparents didn't want to be killed for being Jews by those folks, suffering Olympics. But anyway,
So,
but wait, but my point about that is that, like,
You don't think the
is that-
Holocaust is American history, though?
my grandfather fought in World War II, but my point is that that's not America, right? That was Germany, that was Poland, that was those other countries, that was those people. However, my point is that in America, we really haven't had the direct conversation about slavery because people get defensive about it because immediately it turns into well, you guys sold yourselves into slavery. Like, no, John was born in America. John didn't sell shit into slavery.
It's
both sides get defensive. Now, this one of the points that I actually did want to refer to even from the prelude at one point. So you said that it wasn't a race issue. What's going on now isn't a race issue, that it was a power issue.
Cyclical, it's a cyclical issue.
But this even conversation goes to show, no, it's a lot of it is revolving around race, not just power, because the power comes from the conversation of race, right?
Yeah, it's a strange way to it's hard to word, but I think you're 100% right. The concept is that it's about power, yet power is directly linked to race in our country, as is finance. So I'm sorry.
But John also made the point though right before, and it's really important, I think, for everybody to understand this aspect, that what is happening now and what has been going on is an attack on all of us. It's not just an attack on the black community, on the white community, on the Hispanic, none of that. This is
Don't
an
forget the
attack on
Jews.
all of us.
Mm-hmm.
And all right, the Jews too. And that's really important to point out. You know what I'm saying?
Well, not everybody agree with you, PJ. Unfortunately,
Unfortunately, but
everybody's specifically saying that this is a race issue, and they wanted to push a race issue because
it is a race issue, but it's a race
That
issue
is
that
so
affects us
dismissive
all.
of black people, and
It's
that
a
is
race
so
issue because it's
infuriating.
spoon
For
fed as a
anybody
race
to
issue.
say it's not this and it's not that, you cannot tell a people that have been going through this for centuries, not decades, centuries of just being treated like shit, that that's not the issue. That is so dismissive and disrespectful. I'm sorry, but you can say, yeah, we're all one and we're all this, but buddy, we ain't treated as one. Sorry, all other 5 people that are here, we all look similar. We all ain't treated similar. We ain't gonna all be treated
There's
similar.
6 of us. You said 5. I'm just throwing it out.
I'm not counting myself. I said the other.
But
5.
has that become a race issue or has that become a culture issue?
Obama
said it himself. I'm going to quote Obama. Racism is in our DNA. If that is the
that's
fact,
American
DNA. If racism is in our DNA,
but wait,
and we're a stronger.
I don't think it's just American DNA.
But wait,
though,
do you
Phil.
understand how he meant that? He did mean that though as American DNA. But and you're right, Frank. It's not just about American DNA because we talk about I mean, look at the Dutch. Is it the Dutch? No, the Belgians. Leopold, right? The guy that friggin' destroyed Africa just as bad as Hitler destroyed Europe. Like, we're talking about this whole concept absolutely has to do with race. There's no way it can't have to do with race, but racism is in DNA because how else do people teach it to other people? But I don't know.
So how can an African-American president stand in front of his people and say racism is in our DNA and it exists now
because
more
racism
than ever?
wasn't cured with Obama.
Twice.
All right.
You only get reelected.
You
can only get reelected
rappers that stand up and talk about black injustice, but it's not because of the inner city ghettos that a lot of their albums are selling. It's all the suburbs and the white kids who want to be black who are going out and buying the albums and making that money for them.
Wait, no white kid wants to be black. No white kid wants to be black.
No.
Maybe white kids want to adopt
Tell
the
that to
culture.
60% of white
They want to adopt the culture.
No, they want to adopt the Nobody, no white kid wants to be black.
All right.
One white person wants to be black. Her name is Rachel Dolezal. Rachel Dolezal. That's it. No white person wants to be black.
And that's why that's funny, Jonah.
So you stupid Jonah. So this is actually a perfect way to go into my next question. And actually, I want to get your thoughts on this first, Fabian. Okay. A lot of what we've been talking about has been systemic racism. That's been predominantly like our last, 35 minutes, right?
Mm-hmm.
What about the racism within ourselves? What about the racism that we project? What about the racism that we hold on to that isn't just about the system, right? But about how we approach our daily lives.
Elaborate.
What about that? I'm sorry?
Elaborate. I don't
so
following.
People want to sit here, white, black, brown, whatever, right? And we'll point
I just want to get that out the way. You're black. And
I
so
actually want.
Fabian.
I mean, you ain't got to tell me that, nigga.
Yeah,
you ain't got to tell me that.
I actually want to get to that because I got an argument towards that. That's separate.
I can't wait.
Fuck Dominicans, bro. Okay? All right?
Nah, those are my people, though.
Hey, guys, it's been real. I got to go. It's been great. How do I get off this? Leave?
He has a reason for saying that.
I sure do, man.
Everyone is sitting here blaming the institution. I don't want to say everyone's sitting here, but a lot of people are out there blaming the institution, right? Brandon alluded to it earlier, though. Where's the accountability? Where's the individual accountability? What are you doing, or how are you feeling, right, towards the opposite races? Because I've heard from certain black people that black people can't be racist because it has to stem from a position of power, which I personally don't adhere to. To me, racism is a little bit of both. Is clear cut. If I'm looking at you, Phil, and I'm judging you or coming to a predisposition based on your skin color, don't know you, haven't heard from you, you're white, I think a certain way of you, it's racism. Whether
Black
it's
people can be racist, but
wait,
our
hold on.
racism is like a
Black
rubber
people
bullet or
cannot be
pellet.
racist.
Yes, we can. It's just that it has no power and it
I've
means
had this
nothing.
discussion before.
It's like more like
No.
prejudice.
It's
Yeah, right.
ethnocentrism then.
Black people can be
it's more-
prejudiced, but you cannot be racist.
Our racism has no power. It has no effect. Me being racist
Then you
towards
can't be racist.
So
Fuck,
I,
you would never
so I
stop
really,
him.
so I really
So
didn't
you
get your
can't be
question,
racist.
Wasn't
PJ.
this a, wasn't this a,
I
wasn't this a
definitely
really
pointed
get
it
your
to
question.
Fabian. Thanks,
I
guys.
really didn't get your question. I wasn't trying.
Sorry,
I mean,
sorry.
I didn't even.
Nah,
Was
my
there
bad,
a
my bad.
question?
I didn't
It
even
was
understand the
long.
question.
Well, I just want to. I really just want to know, starting with Fabian, your guys' thoughts towards that. Like, what about the racism within ourselves? How do we address that? How do we fix that? Can we fix it? Does it exist? Am I just making that shit up?
So you're saying the racism? I mean, I'm assuming what you're talking about is the racism in yourself, as in how you feel towards other people of different races, or your own battle, like if you're a mixed
Both.
race.
It could be
something.
both. It could be
Okay.
both. There's black
talking
people
about
that don't
when
want to
you-
be black.
When you lock your
Well-
doors when John walks by.
Nah, actually, yeah. no,
Happen,
no, I don't.
still happens to me.
I was gonna. Well, Fabian
Actually,
thought about it, which is interesting.
You know what's funny? I do it regardless because I
I don't like people.
yeah, exactly. So my thing on that is, and that's funny that you said that, PJ, because I actually it doesn't bother me, especially in our country, with how diverse we are, and Phil touched on that before, and that's what happens. Racism is kind of bred from the diversity, but I feel like we should accept our differences, and I think we should not be so politically correct with how we treat each other and what we call each other, because if we get away from that and not get sensitive about it, then we can all laugh it off about this stereotype and that stereotype. And so that's the way I kind of see it. And even though, I mean, I know a lot of people see somebody and they think a stereotype, I don't think there's a problem with that as long as you don't judge somebody based upon that. So you can have a preconceived notion, which everybody does, because everybody sees color, and I don't care what anybody says. Everybody sees color. You should see color. That's just science.
Yeah, but
that's the reflection. That is the light is being reflected back to you.
Yeah, but that is such a comfortable position to hold. When
but if you make a predetermined judgment because of that, then that's when it becomes a problem.
Well, that's what a stereotype is a predetermined judgment by definition. See, the thing is, you think we're too PC, and we probably are. Chappelle's show needs to come back. Greatest show ever, right? That was un-PC. But sometimes your lack of PC and your stereotypes might get me killed. You understand? The stereotype of a black man being in Central Park asking a woman to put her dog on a leash, and she's calling, there's a black man, and he's...
But that's exactly what I'm saying.
But she tried those stereotypes that you're trying to... Because you can't say, well, these are the ones that we need to keep on because PC is too bad, and these are the ones we need to let go. People's going to keep all the stereotypes.
Well, that's fine. But you can't make a judgment based upon the stereotypes because we all have them.
But
you
stereotype
can say that,
by definition is judging somebody.
You have to eliminate the stereotypes. Which is really my point.
But as an intelligent person with critical thinking skills, you can understand that and you can go, this is a stereotype. This is not this person. You can do that. You are giving most people entirely too much credit. And this just goes back to the concept that half the population is dumber than the average person. And they're not able to realize that the stuff that you and I find funny is not funny. Like the stuff you and I find funny, it's a joke, and to them it's not funny.
Look,
I agree with you on that wholeheartedly, Phil.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. We could get it, but they won't.
Case in point, in the prelude, right? Brandon made the comment that if John was to walk into a room of white men, that he would feel uncomfortable, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that if him or Phil were to walk into a room full of black men, that they would probably feel uncomfortable, right? But Phil made the comment, no, I would probably feel like I was the worst dancer.
I would.
Right? But that's indirectly stereotyping not only himself, but those people within the room.
No, it's not a stereotype for me. I suck at dancing.
That was a stereotype.
That's a stereotype for me. I know I'm shit at dancing.
Speaking to what you were just saying,
though, is that most of us could look at his comment of "I think I would be the shittiest dancer" as a joke, and look at that as funny. But the majority would be like, "Oh my god,
But
did
some
you just
people,
say that?"
but
You
also
know?
some
No,
people
a
might
lot
see
of
it
people
as,
would think it's a joke, but some people would be like, "Well, what the fuck did he just say? Like, what is he
Right.
insinuating?" And take it to
see-
another level. And he completely kind-hearted, completely innocent, and no.
and it's literally the most harmless stereotype. It's like, you know, like the there's plenty of other stereotypes, but the fact that, you know, black people have rhythm. I mean, I've watched Soul Train.
Yo,
Yeah.
But
So-
I've
not all
watched it.
stereotypes are necessarily
Spanish people
bad, but
have
there's
rhythm
still
too.
Exactly.
You know?
there's still preconceived notions like black people can't swim, but I can, and I'm a pretty good one. And
you have
so-
bad night vision, sir.
No,
Really?
I have great night vision. Like that's the
I'm
thing.
a damn
is
good
that a
dancer
stereotype?
too.
Is
Just
that a
for the
black
record,
stereotype?
I'm a damn
It
good
was
dancer.
during one of the wars. I
definitely
forget what
They
it
had
was.
night vision.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
like
they were.
watermelon.
That's why they
I'm
weren't
not a
allowed to be
fan
in
of
the
fried
army or something like
chicken.
that.
Yo, who doesn't like watermelon?
Me,
it's like,
I hate
it's
that
like-
shit.
is it because it's mealy?
I
Because
just
that's
don't.
probably just a bad
It's
watermelon.
just
I
too
don't
much.
like the
It's too much
seeds.
water. I'm not a
Not enough melon. I get you.
right. I'm just
Black
not. I
people
like
think all
peanut
white
butter.
people like mayonnaise. I can't
But-
stand that eggy
but-
shit.
But
What?
stereotypes.
Really? What
You
about
mean they
aioli?
don't?
Yeah.
I
I
can't
actually,
stand it,
I
bro.
had 3
Mustard.
spoonfuls for dinner.
Mustard.
I ain't-
Mustard's the way to go.
I don't want to. But stereotypes. Okay, I didn't know what it meant to be black until I moved to this town and kids let me know I was black. And that, I guess that's why you asked me before why that experience that we had when we got pulled out the car stuck with me, is because up until that point, I'm a kid from Orange County, New York. I was born in the Bronx. I lived there until 5 years old. I moved to Middletown, then I moved to Spring Valley, then I moved to New Windsor, then I moved to Monroe. I am an upstate kid. I
Spring
don't know.
Valley, yo, I don't know, man.
Listen, the Haitians down there was bullying me too, right? So I got it because I wasn't a city kid, and I wasn't around. I was not that environment. My ass belonged in Monroe Woodbury. You understand? But going past that, I didn't realize that I wasn't a part of that community like that until I got there, when it was like not accepting me. In New Windsor, that's damn near Newburgh. I'm going to be accepted. Spring Valley, Middletown. These are all places where, even though there's not a lot of black kids, it's still, there's no way for you to tell me I'm not like everybody else. It wasn't until I got here till they're like, oh no, you're the black kid. You're my favorite black person. You're not like everybody else. I told you in my yearbook, you're my favorite black person.
Yeah, you tell me that.
One of my best friends.
That's how.
Fabian,
I
you
knew
mentioned something
I
about
was,
like accepting all
brown,
of our
too.
differences. But Fabian, you talk about like accepting our differences and like understanding them, and I think that that's something that like I don't think people in that have the dominant culture do, because then it's all seen as like that's different, and why do you do that? I often like being Jewish and not being in the dominant religion. Oftentimes people have so many weird stereotypes or things they don't understand. Like how many times I had been asked, even like still, as a teacher, because I deal with teenagers every day.
Yeah.
You don't celebrate Christmas? And like to them, it's like, it's weird. And like people are shocked. And like, no, I don't celebrate Christmas because I don't think
Jewish.
Jesus is the son of God. So like, it's not, why would I celebrate his birth?
Right.
And it's those, you know what I mean? And those are the types of things. It's like people have these weird thoughts, and it's, I think that, my mom, they used to think the Jews had horns. People thought Jews had horns.
Yeah.
So there's a statue in Rome, and I'm upset I didn't get to see it, but it's Moses and he has horns here. And allegedly it's because they misinterpreted when he came down from Mount Sinai, he maybe had a halo and they interpreted as horns. My mother was
Because
asked,
of astrology and during Moses, it was the era of the Taurus.
is
It was
that?
represented as the ram.
But when my mom was a kid in the 50s, a kid said to her, "You're a Jew, where are your horns?" So like crazy weird stereotypes about people that exist. And I think that people don't just accept that. It's like they hear this stuff. I mean, listen, how many of you growing up in Mara Woodbury heard that Jews had sex through sheets? That the Hasidics
I heard Hasidics did. I heard Hasidics did.
Yeah.
That's
What?
what that's what
Wait,
talking
what?
about. Yeah.
What?
There was a
Oh,
rumor
yo.
that the Hasidics had sex through a sheet.
Wait.
No,
I ain't
listen.
trying to be a dick, but that's not true.
No, you know what it is? So you ever,
That'd be funny. I'm trying to understand.
I'll tell you what.
No,
so
I know. But
this was explained to
So-
me. This was explained to me in Israel by a rabbi, because that's why I was on the birthright trip. You know how like the Hasidics wear, how like when they wear their shirts, you can see like the tassels hanging out underneath them. It's a prayer shawl. It's called a tallis. They wear it all the time underneath their shirts. People would hang them out to dry. It looks like a sheet with a hole in it.
No way.
That's it. That's it. People would think that there's no sex through the sheets. You know what they do? They just have
Never heard
sex
that.
like every month, like right after the woman's like right as soon as the woman's ovulating. So that's why they have 10 kids. We actually, because they have like a whole, they have to do a ceremonial bath after a woman gets off her period. It's like it's crazy, and we like when you time it out. Those of us that have
I
children,
got a quick question.
it's why
it's
they are so
ceremonial bath.
I need Ray to clear up.
Ceremonial
Phil,
ritual bath,
I want Phil. I want Phil to
there's a
clear up
ritual
something
bath.
real quick.
Damn.
Just real quick, is it? I heard that the reason why Hasidic Jews have so many kids now is because they're trying to make up the numbers from the Holocaust.
So it has nothing to do with the Holocaust. It's directly related to the Jewish, the Bible, the Torah. It's called Peru or Vu. It's populate the earth.
Okay.
But a lot of it is related. So here's the deal. A lot of this stuff. Whoa, settle down there.
What did
Settle
that
down.
Jonah?
Settle down, Jonah.
No, but I have questions that
Phil,
he's
yo,
here.
Because Jonah, I feel like Jonah thinks we're trying to.
No, Phil.
I thought that stemmed from the top.
Listen, quick digress off of the topic.
Wait, because I want to tell you why they have so many kids. But go ahead.
The reason why I feel the way I feel about Jews, it has to do with religion. It has to do with religion.
You gotta chill the
Then I
fuck
can't.
out,
Then I
man.
can't have a conversation.
No, it's
I
not
know,
cool.
It's like the way he's saying it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Listen. No.
Adolf,
Listen.
settle down, Adolf.
Listen. No.
The Jewish
Listen.
people. You can't say that four. You can't call them 4 words,
listen.
4 letters.
Oh my God, you guys are making this so much worse.
Yo, listen. Hold on.
I was going to
It has
enlighten
to-
you on some stuff,
No,
but now
no,
you're
and I-
going. Now you're
listen,
going to tell
no,
me why
no.
you hate the Jews.
I appreciate. No. Yo, listen.
Charge interest.
Nah.
Yo, I don't want to turn this into this discussion.
No,
Wait,
real quick. Listen. The reason why I feel the way I do about Jews, it has to do with religion, which is kind of why I debate with John and Fabe about religion. Because to me,
do it.
Listen,
And you probably don't understand the Jewish religion if you think you
No.
because-
Listen,
Have this
believe it or not- no,
conversation
listen.
later.
Wait.
Off
I know.
air.
Listen. Just to digress real quick.
See, now I lost where I was going with the Jews.
Let him get it out.
Sorry,
It
I
is
had
what
to.
it is.
Just go.
I have
Peru,
to.
is that what you said?
Peru or
Peru?
Vu, thank you. Yeah.
Peru.
I have to get it out for the sake of Phil and I's relationship. Listen, Phil.
I'm listening, Jonah. I'm listening as I call the ACLU.
It's
All right. Everybody is muted. I'm unmuting Jonah. Jonah, go. Everyone's muted. Oh, wait, hold on. Wrong one. My bad. Go ahead.
it has to do with the Christian faith, man. To me, right, the Christian faith has always told me that Abraham, right? I believe, Phil, correct me if I'm wrong. Abraham was God's favorite.
Hold on. You're about to tell me something about your religion, and you're going to say, "Oh, Phil, tell me." Fuck
No.
that.
Wait,
I'm not
no.
helping you hate the Jews.
No. I'm asking you to tell me if I'm correct in this story or not. Abraham was God's favorite. God told Abraham not to have a family outside of his own. In this case, being the Jews, right? And then he had a family outside and went, and this I guess is where the Muslims and the Jews beef, right? To me,
Are you talking about? So you're talking about Abraham and Isaac, and Isaac
Right.
versus Ishmael, and who was sacrificed, and
Correct.
how the Muslims believe that it was Ishmael, and the Jews believe that it was Isaac. So,
right.
So
wait,
I don't
hold
know
on.
why that makes you hate the Jews. One,
No.
two,
Hey,
wait a second.
Oh, damn,
But
bro, can I get that?
But Abraham is the covenant, and it's the God that it's the monotheistic religion. It's that Jews, Christians, and Muslims all believe in the same God. Go ahead.
So, to me, Christianity fucked it up because planting that seed in my head, it always came down to me that Jews always felt that they were better than everyone else. So that's when I was just like, well, damn, well, the fuck the damn Jews, like, you know, it was because of Christianity.
Right,
Now,
so wait, hold up. Number one, I am better than you. Number two,
damn, what the fuck?
no. Honestly, Jonah, I feel that way about all religious extremists. I think all religious extremists think that they are better. I think the Hasidic Jews think that they are better than me. They don't really even consider me a Jew because I, mix milk and meat. I like bacon. You know what I mean? So I think that the Crusaders thought that they were better than everybody, and that's why they killed or
Got it.
converted them. I think that the jihadists, the Wahhabis, whoever, they think that they are better than everybody. So I think that it's a reaction to extremism, and
Right.
also the idea is, why do you have to believe that?
Well, I don't, and this is why I appreciate you, and I think this is kind of why you and I get along, because you're shining a whole different light to my way of thinking. You know what I'm saying?
So, and Snoop Lion, Snoop Lion.
Hey, John, hold on a second. I got one for you. I got one for you. Hold on.
No, wait, I wanted to tell you why the Hasidics have so many kids. So the Hasidim have so many kids, and it's also the reason why. So when a woman is on her period, her husband will not touch her. It is considered an unclean time. It's also why Hasidic men won't touch any woman other than their wife. It's part of it. They don't know if she's on her period. But anyway, after she has her period, she has to get what's called a mikvah, which is a ceremonial bath. And it's at like a certain, like, it has to be rainwater and things like that. And so that happens a certain number of days
What if it doesn't rain?
It's like it's like a natural source. I forget exactly how it works. I'm not super religious.
That's why they wanted that tap from the reservoir from
yeah,
Monroe?
a lot of the stuff comes from like things like that. That's why they want certain, like in certain places they have to. So the women have to take that bath, and then they're able to be touched by their husband, and then they have sex. And that happens typically around the time when a woman's ovulating. So essentially, like, the only time they have sex, it's like considered super holy to do it, and they're ovulating. So that is a major reason why the Hasidic people have so many kids, because they believe they want to have a lot, and they specifically, a lot of them have sex during ovulation.
Yeah, but doesn't that stem from actually the Talmud? That's not actually stuff that's in the Torah, right?
Yeah, it's interesting too, because a lot of that is. So you go back to like kosher rules and stuff like that. I got into a lot of trouble asking them in Israel, Fabian, when they were like, so the big thing. Oh, that is creepy. I thought that was Fabian. Yeah. But it's is that Fabian or is it Carlton? Same thing. So anyway, the Puerto Rican Carlton. Carltino. So anyway, Carlito. Oh god.
Man.
Wait, where was I going with this?
Here we go.
We're talking about the Torah.
Wait, hold on. I want to get one point.
We got way off topic.
Fabian, 1 point. Hold on. 1 point. So the whole thing about why Jews don't mix milk and meat is because somewhere in the Torah, or they talk about that a cow doesn't bathe its calf in its milk. And so I said to the rabbi, how come we don't mix chicken and milk? Because chickens don't lactate. And he told me it's because the rabbis agreed on it, like the Talmud. And I said, that's it. And he got really upset with me for questioning that. You're not supposed to just say, oh, that's it. They didn't like that. They didn't like that. That is why I'm not very religious, because a bunch of guys decided it one day is not really enough for me to believe something.
It sounds about right when it comes to religion.
So kind of to bring this back, because John said something a little earlier with his experience with race and stuff like that. I kind of wanted to shine a light differently for me, because I actually, growing up, didn't feel that racism was a thing. To me,
we're too busy hating the Jews.
Yeah, good point. No, actually, growing up,
this nigga said good point.
He didn't even contradict it. He just accepted it. He just went with it.
No, because you know what, man? I do. Listen, I do to a point, to a degree, because of religion. Why I don't really follow one is at a point I did hate Jews.
Because you felt misguided. Okay.
I'm not gonna lie. I really did. Hold on, John. There you go.
I get it, man. I'm just gonna start reacting this way and shit.
But yeah, I had a completely different upbringing than you did, John. I mean, I lived in the hood my whole life. I felt like it was normal for the cops to do the shit that they did. You know what I'm saying? Like, to give you an example, like there was one time where I went to the park after, it's illegal to go to the park after dusk, right? And I was at one, just chilling, and just kind of to ease my mind real quick, because I was going through some shit. So I went there just to kind of just chill and relax for a little bit. And shortly after, I got pulled over. Like on my way back home, I got pulled over, and I thought it was normal for the cop to pull me over and say, "Yo, what you was doing at the park?" And I was like, "Nah, I wasn't. No, I wasn't doing anything." And the cop was just like, "Well, we got a call saying that you were smoking weed." And I was like, "Nah, I wasn't smoking weed. Like you can check my car. You know what I'm saying? Like that was my reaction. Go ahead, check my car. There's no weed in here. Like I got, you know what I'm saying? But now,
Immediate obedience.
right?
Immediate obedience.
And I didn't think there was anything wrong with that. Like I felt like, all right, cool. It wasn't until a week after where I was just like, damn, you know what? Like that wasn't right. Like I know I wasn't in the wrong. There was no reason for them to search my car and for me to give them the authority to search my car because I know I wasn't in the wrong. Like what the fuck? And then when I got back in the car, I was more pissed at the fact that they left my car all shitty. Like they took everything and just threw it all over the place. Then I was.
They don't give a fuck about you. You didn't have that you're about to die feeling. And again, I didn't recognize that. White people made me realize that I was black. And you kind of grew up around people that was like you, so you already was on game that these niggas, that's kind of what they did.
But see, that's a difference.
It was
though.
a culture shock for me.
Nah, see, that's a difference. I wasn't on game. To me, growing up, it was normal. Like that was just the right thing to do.
How about
Here's
this
the
one?
funny part, though.
One thing, did you guys ever have a conversation with your parents? How do you act around the cops?
Never.
My parents already just told me. Oh, my parents
But
always
they had
told
that
me.
talk with you.
Yeah, my
They
parents
had to have a talk with you. No,
my parents told me just to always do what they tell you to do.
Yeah.
Whatever
Fabian,
the cops tell you to do, that's what you. That's
Frank,
Yeah, I don't remember having the conversation.
Pretty much.
I never had
similar.
the conversation.
I did.
What's interesting to me though, right? So like, John's realization was when he moved upstate, right? Where he first encountered the racism. Jonah, he just always had it, but he felt it was normal. I almost had.
Wait.
Racism. Was it racism or was that police?
Yeah, the police interaction.
But it still fell in the line
of racism.
Of racism, though. And at least that's how it made him feel. That it was because of who he was, not what he was doing, and it was a normal thing for him. For me, I had a similar situation for John, but like, really, what I'm amazed at is at the difference of effect that it had. For me, when I was in 4th grade, I very clearly to this day remember being in the after-school program, and a kid approached me, a kid that I considered a friend. He asked me if I ever showered. Why? Because I'm always brown. I look dirty. Right? And that was the very first time prior to this, I had gone to school in Yonkers. Like I didn't have that.
Because kids are the only ones that really don't see color.
Right. So he asked me like, do you ever shower? Because why? Because your skin's dirty. I'm like, I mean,
this comes off.
Yeah, no.
Maybe I'm not.
You are.
Legitimately, I remember feeling like, oh, maybe I'm not doing something properly because. I mean, that's kind of always there. You know, I'm a 4th grader. I'm whatever. Maybe I was stupid. I don't know. Whatever. No, but that was my first encounter with it. And really, I remember going through a lot of elementary school, trying so hard to fit in, trying so hard to be accepted, being one of 2 brown kids in my whole section of classroom, right? Like I was the only one in my class, and there was 2 that I can remember, like within my whole corridor or whatever the fuck you want to call it. And at the time, like it didn't really register, but I was as alone. But like I know I was alone. I remember getting in an argument with the white kid. He was making fun of me and this and that, and all of a sudden, like we made up. I don't know what the fuck it was about.
Because you don't have a choice.
But then the next day, I remember having the confidence to go dressed to school in a way that I never had, with like Janko jeans and shit that I ain't never worn before. But I had a certain confidence, you know, because I was cool with him now. Like we was good. You know what I mean? So I wasn't gonna get made fun of no more. But But to my adulthood, I'm sorry, I'm almost done.
No, yeah.
To my adulthood, though, it hasn't stuck with me the same way it seems like it stuck with John, right? Like John, it resonated differently with him. I've had interactions with cops. I get pull over, car off, keys on my dash. Hey, what's going on? Blah, blah, blah. You know, I go through the normal spiel. For the most part, from there, all right.
Why do you take your keys out the
Slow down.
ignition?
Yeah, I never do that.
Exactly.
I don't do it for any other reason than to not, so that they see that I'm not a threat to run. But
See,
it's
I keep
not
my hands on the
Exactly. That is a microcosm of the whole conversation.
But
hold on a second.
I'm not doing it because I'm brown, though. That's the difference. I'm not doing it because I'm brown.
That's crazy that
You don't think you're doing it because Phil don't do that, and I'm sure Fudgy don't either.
But I keep my hands. I keep my hands.
That's crazy. That's crazy that y'all all feel that way, because I remember taking the whole driving course. That was the way to do it. Like, if you get pulled over, turn the car off, take the key out, throw it on the dashboard. Like, I don't do that at all. But I do remember that somewhere in the handbook, that was the right way to.
I never read that in the handbook.
I always keep my hands where they can see them. That's it.
Yeah.
Hands where you can see them. Right on the top of the steering wheel, and then until he.
I usually hang my hands out the window.
My logic is the less of a threat I appear to be, for whatever reason, the more likely I am to get off. And that's what I'm
That
trying
is
to
so fucking crazy.
See,
the concept that you have to act and be different, so make sure that your life is preserved.
The unfortunate part is,
but I'm not doing it. I don't feel I'm doing it for race.
You don't think you're doing it because of your race, but Phil and Fuzzy don't do that.
But I keep my hands. But I keep my hands visible, and I don't think that's race. I think it's it's the cop power thing. The police have the power.
It's definitely a cop power thing, because this guy has the power to give me a ticket and make me spend some money I ain't trying to spend.
Exactly.
So I'm gonna do everything that I can to get out of it.
Taking your keys out.
That's how I feel.
So they feel comfortable that you won't flee is crazy to me.
The crazy part is bullshit you not. I remember somewhere in the learner's permit manual, it says it somewhere that you need to feel that you need to show that the cops that you're not a threat. So you turn the car off, take the keys out the ignition, and you put your hands on the steering wheel. I clearly remember that somewhere. So
it almost feels respectful to me. Like, bro, you ain't got to worry about me. Don't worry.
Why do I have to make you feel comfortable when you got all the fucking weapons and you look like a fucking Avenger, sir? Why do I have to make you feel comfortable?
A cop approaching a car to me does not have all the power. That's my opinion.
They don't.
Yeah,
that's my opinion.
I think that there's definitely a lot of threat to them
completely.
In that situation.
Completely.
Absolutely.
You're walking up to the car, you don't know what's going on.
But I don't think I have to take the keys out.
Right, I would never.
You may not never, John. But if you really think about it, a cop's out of their car. Let's see, they're 10, 15 feet away from their car. How many? And not to be fucking, I don't know what the word is.
But I wasn't a threat to you before you pulled me over.
You may not have been, but the moment they get out their car,
if I run a stop sign, how the fuck am I a threat? If I run a stop sign and you pull up and you pull me over, and now you got
I see where John's coming from.
Your hand on your gun. Why? I ran a fucking stop sign.
No, bro.
Listen, they don't know what's in the car, bro.
It doesn't matter.
John.
They shouldn't have their hands on their gun.
No. John. You and I agree on a lot of shit. But on this one right here, I understand the cop's point of view, where if I'm walking up to the situation, there's been plenty of times, both white and black, when the cop walks up to the car, pow, gets shot out of nowhere for running a stop sign. So I hear you. But for the cops,
that's the whole reason why they touch the back of the car. You know that, right? It's so that their fingerprints are on the back of the car, so that if that person should flee, that car can be identified. That's why cops put their hands on the backs of the car as they approach.
That's all well and good, bro. That shit is still crazy.
I agree with you, and I hear you, bro. And no bullshit, I do. But if I'm a regular cop now, I would happen to believe that if I became a cop, I'd be one of those following the law of the land and not try to be corrupt. So if I'm walking up to a situation, both white or black, I'm gonna put my hand on my gun because I don't know what the car's carrying. I don't know what the driver's gonna do.
I don't think the cop comes over with his hand on the gun every time.
I don't think so either.
Nah, but
nah.
but
No,
also
No,
at the same time,
sometimes it's on the hip, sometimes it's on the
Yeah,
belt.
I don't think
it
they
looks
have
like
like
it's
a
by,
gun.
it looks
But
like
I
it's
do
by the
think-
gun.
Again,
think
you're
that-
not you're not the aggressor in this situation. I didn't pull myself over. So again, you have to feel comfortable. You have to feel comfortable after pulling me over when I was minding my fucking business. I'm not going 150 in a 20. Like I again
see the point.
simple things. And now you have to be extra precautious. So you are going to be already high strung because that's what the job demands, right? I didn't do shit. If I have a bad day too, your bad day supersedes my bad day all the time because you're a fucking cop and law enforcement stuff and blah blah.
Well,
Fuck outta here.
you
I
made a
should not
good
have-
point. You made
No,
a good
that-
point
but
in the
I'm with
prelude about giving cops an outlet, giving cops
Yeah.
a way to
I actually-
relieve them
I
and
actually have a-
acknowledging the difficult job that they do. You made a good point in the prelude on that.
Yeah. And I want to add to that. We need to start defunding them.
Well,
You
I
said-
don't
you
think
said
so.
that too.
So
Well,
I don't think we
defund
need
them
to-
and almost abolish them.
now
Almost.
we need to reassess that funding and reappropriate it and put it towards retraining and focusing on having good, compassionate cops out there. Because the idea is that we can't. You can't.
I don't know if I agree with that, man.
NYPD police
I don't know if I
budget
agree
is
with that.
$6 billion with a B dollars. NYPD.
I can't.
Literally, you would think Thanos and Loki was coming.
Yeah, but you got to remember, some of that money's for internal affairs too. Some of that money's to investigate the cops.
I can't
NYPD
co-sign to
way
either
more
to
shit
either
than-
of y'all.
Yo,
think
I'll
that's
look it
right.
up right
Department
now.
that
I'm
they
on NYPD internal affairs.
Bro, I know a lot of people on the force down there, and trust me, the IIB is no joke. They left and right, cops get in trouble for shit all
Yo, these
the
niggas
time.
got
Listen, the reason
Why?
why I can't agree with what Phil's saying is, yo, if we could retrain all we want, man, but it is my understanding, yo, Fabe and Brandon, you guys being gun holders, man, you might be able to interject on this, but when you get gun training, you get trained not necessarily to shoot to kill, but to shoot to disable, to disarm.
I don't mean
You know what
gun
I'm saying?
training. I don't mean
No,
gun training.
I'm speaking as a whole. Because if we're gonna train them, if we're gonna retrain them, gun training is part of that too.
But that's
But wait,
the last
no,
on the list of training.
no. But I'm talking about like when I'm a teacher,
Should be the
I take
first.
classes.
Yo, Brandon, I think is still muted. We might have to unmute
De-escalation
Brandon.
classes.
He
there's
ain't
lots
muted.
of-
He ain't talking.
Yeah, I'm talking about.
No, he's talking. I see him talking.
Nah,
Oh,
he's
yeah.
not
You're
muted.
muted, bro.
He's not muted.
Yeah, he is.
Brandon, you're muted, Brandon.
Check your.
on your
muted
own.
yourself.
Check your
Yeah, you got to turn on your
Check
audio.
your end.
Check your headset. Nah, I got Brandon unmuted. All right, let's try this again. Hold up, real quick. Boop boop.
Nothing.
No.
Nah.
You still see the mute icon on your screen? He'd say so. He still does.
So it might be on it, Brandon. It might be on your end. You might have to. You might
So,
have to
and-
unmute
and-
on your end.
He can't.
Yeah,
Because
I have everybody unmuted.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out a way, but anyways.
He can probably come back and maybe go out and come back.
It might,
Yeah, he should be able to.
If Frank got him unmuted, then Brandon, it might be on your end.
So no. So what were you saying, Joe?
Well,
Now I was interested.
I was saying that my point is that we're not talking about gun training. I'm talking about training overall. Like teachers get tons of training, and John said de-escalation, and that's the big thing. Is I'm not talking about training these guys how to shoot better or how to beat people better or how to do non-lethal holds. I'm talking teach them how to interact with people better. Let's make maybe more of an education requirement. The biggest problem for me is that you won't get those people to do that job.
The problem I see with that, Frank, I'm sorry, man, but the problem I see with that is
Then you weed out a lot of people that shouldn't have that job.
But see,
Yeah.
the problem I see with that is how do you untrain someone
Oh yeah,
to
no,
be
you can't.
from being racist? You follow what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I get that.
Some of the
It's
shit
not about
is,
untraining. It's about getting those racist
That's
ones
about
out and
having-
vetting
yeah.
the ones coming
Yeah, that's
in.
But
about
that's-
having better hiring. That's like in teaching, like some teachers suck, and I want them to hold those teachers accountable, and I want them to hire better people. And it's the same thing with cops. Is I want them to get rid of the cops that suck and hire better cops. And here's what's crazy. In my job, I want them to hold the shitty teachers accountable. Why don't good cops, they say it, but why don't we have them holding the shitty cops accountable?
Like,
There we go.
There we go.
We got
So-
you back.
I was going to say, it was a pretty popular opinion. Mute the white guy when we talk about racism. Nobody cares.
Oh shit!
Yes.
I'm just
Exactly.
so
No, it's
y'all
all
don't know on my screen, John's in between both the white guys.
Yeah.
I wasn't
Oh,
saying a bunch of
good.
things.
Dude,
but-
Is he
very
this way or is he
entertaining for
that
me.
way? Where is he?
He's
He's
Who am I
down,
pointing
he's
that
down
way?
there.
Oh,
He's
that
down
way.
there to me.
Yeah, Frank here, Pete.
And Frank is
This
there.
is still so weird.
There.
Everybody
But-
point to
Yeah.
Frank.
I just really want
Nobody's
to give a little bit of
Right.
context actually to what I find interesting.
Wait, Frank, hold on a
Yesterday-
second, man. I don't want to cut you off, man, but I
Okay.
wanted to hear
But
what
he's
Brandon
gonna.
had to say.
I don't
I
mean
know,
it, but
right?
I'm going to do it.
I'm glad. No, because I wanted to
mean-
hear what Brandon had to
So-
say, man. He was a little quiet for a little bit, but I want to hear what he had to say.
I think to that's what they're saying. That's the biggest issue. What we're dealing with today is absolutely an establishment issue, and it's being turned into a race issue, and we're getting off the topics that are at hand. You know, not long ago it was huge gun topics, like you had mentioned, me being a gun owner, things like that. When people say, well, you don't need a 30-round mag to go hunting. You don't need this. You're exactly right. But what we do need it is to protect ourselves from a government and an establishment who is obviously at this point from the conversation I think we could all agree on is stepping on all of our rights. And it's to keep from at that point when they decided to eliminate all of them altogether, it's going to be the people that stand up. I had mentioned in the prelude about 3%ers and how serious I take them to an extent of like Antifa and stuff. But originally, the whole story of 3%ers is originally when we won our Constitution, when we rose up, only 3% of the nation agreed with the views that we have as free Americans today, and it rose
Wait,
up against it.
I
So-
thought it was that 3% of the people took up arms in the American Revolution, not the Constitution, because the Constitution was written. long
American
after the
Revolution. Well, okay,
But,
so I mean,
But
yeah.
that's
It's
just
still-
about the
it's
amount of
still-
people that took up arms. It's not about the
Right.
amount of people that believed in the cause.
Well, I mean, but you
but,
got to think
I
of
mean,
the most of the people who
if you
believed in
believe,
the
you
cause
would
at that
act on
time
it, I
took
guess
up
is the
arms.
point.
We're,
No,
I
but the
mean,
idea is-
eliminating women, children, things like
I
that.
mean,
But I mean,
Benjamin
nobody-
Franklin didn't pick up a gun, but he believed in the cause and is one of our
but it
founders.
also clearly wasn't a large amount, Phil. You have to agree on that because
No, I'm not saying that it was a lot.
obviously,
Wait.
if they're
But
only
when-
3%
when
are
you-
only gathering.
But when you
to
say
take up arms
believe,
against
when
the
you
laws.
say believe in the cause, I mean, obviously other people believed in the cause. Otherwise, a nation would not have been formed.
Yeah, but that's more semantics though, because when
Yeah,
it's
no,
only,
I'm
when it's only
arguing about the
3%,
concept.
like
I'm
And
saying
that's
only
not necessarily true too, because a lot of people don't believe in the guy that's in there right now. He wasn't the popular vote, but yeah.
no, but that's I mean we're talking about the founding of the country. We're not talking about voting in a democratic election.
Well, I guess my point is just because that's what happened doesn't mean that's popular.
No, I'm saying they argued. I mean, Federalist versus anti-Federalist, the whole concept. I mean, the Constitution was argued, the Articles of Confederation, all of that stuff they did debate, but they obviously all believe that they shouldn't be part of England. And I think that only 3% of people picked up arms, and that makes sense. But also look at our 1.5% of our population now, right? That's what the military
Which
is
should
now.
be noted, the very first riot
Yeah.
against slavery ever was by 3 Quaker white men.
That's right.
But
first
I'm
what?
proud of that.
First what?
against slavery.
White
Riot
people
or
are the
protest
greatest
against slavery.
ally to black people. That's the thing. Like, I
We're the
have said
greatest
this-
allies to everybody. I mean, not
I-
white people, but everybody is the greatest ally to everybody.
I want.
I mean, that's
So
what
I
we
like
do.
that.
I
Okay,
seen
I like
something.
that.
I just real
I
quick.
love that
real
viewpoint.
quick. I seen something on a meme. It was a fucking great meme. I don't even know if it's true, but it was an article that says, "Oh, like Iraq, Iran, all of these countries are like celebrating the problems that are going on in New York."
Oh
And
yeah.
then in America. And then the black guy posted like, "Yo, don't get it twisted. We'll still whoop your ass. We just dealing with a
That was
family
it.
problem here. Like this is just a family problem here." And that resonated with me because a lot of black people just want to be with the white. Like we don't
Yep.
want to do this. We
Yep.
really don't. We don't want superiority. We don't want revenge. We don't want none of that shit. We just want to be. That's it, man.
Yo, you know
Because
what's
black
crazy?
people love white people, and white
I
people have
believe
to love
that.
black people.
Yo,
I believe that, but I also feel that is not outwardly portrayed.
I mean, white people obviously
By
love
the-
black
by-
people. They
by the
took you
black
guys
community.
from your
I
home
don't-
and brought you with
Yeah,
them.
but I don't think the sentiment is the same because
It
if you-
has
if you-
anything
if
to
you
do with
ask
whether
me
they
if-
like them.
If you ask me right now, if the
I thought that
roles
was
were-
a good joke.
If you ask me right now, everything being equal, but the roles were reversed between white people and black people, do I think that black people would be implementing the things that are going, or would do the same thing to white people? I would tell you absolutely fucking not. And
But that's an easy position to say.
No, it's not.
I
I'm gonna tell you why.
Feel
I'm gonna keep it 100% honest with you, because I'm a black. We all have conversations with our family that nobody outside these walls are ever gonna hear. Can we agree with that?
Yeah.
Right? Well, I'm gonna let y'all enter in these little conversations that I have. And this is the sentiment that black people, I have these conversations with my family. Black people do not want smoke with white people, and it's not because of fear. It's because we really do have a sense of community, family, and unity. And we see white people the same way that everybody else is supposed to see each other. Like, yo, we've been here. Forget Hispanics, forget Asians, even Native Americans was here first. Forget them too.
Forget yourself,
Fabian. Black people and white people have
even Brandon though a little bit.
Very
30% of him.
Bond. Black people and white people have a very unique bond. It is something that has tied them together for centuries, more than any other two.
Yo, John,
in this country.
Yo, John.
Whether it's negative or positive, there's something that
it
could be more positive than negative if both sides were to agree on that. Is my point.
I agree.
Yo, John, I agree with you, man. And the only part that I disagree with is I think, and this is coming from me, where I'm hating at this point because of what's going on right now. I'm hating my own people. And
so don't worry, Phil. See, it's not just you.
I know. He's like, I'm hating. I'm like, oh, he's hesitating. No.
Yo, I feel that it needs to start. It needs to start with us as a whole. Like we gotta start working with each other.
Absolutely.
Right. You know,
starts
because
with the people.
Because you know,
communists.
The white people. White people, you know, they are together, right? They work with each other and stuff like that. But now this could be systemic. This could be history. This can be as a whole. But at some point, we got to start working with each other, and each other. I mean, us black people together, man. You know, we can't keep saying, "Yo, white people this and cops this," and at some point, we all gotta work with each other. We gotta stop. And this is my point. We gotta start trusting each other. We gotta start saying, hey, you know what? If I see you doing good, instead of me saying, yo, damn, this nigga over here doing this bullshit. He's over here fucking, you know.
I'm so happy you brought this up, bro. I'm so happy you brought this up.
Talk your shit, PJ.
No, but it's true. PJ,
it's not. No, it's not. Wait, hold up. It's not, because here's the problem, right? Exactly what you're perpetuating continues the exact same system that exists today. Yes, but we should be supporting each other. Why does it have to be about black people lifting up other black people? Why does it have to be about white people?
I'm gonna tell you why. John, hold on. I'm gonna tell you why. No, I'm gonna tell you why. I'm gonna tell you why, bro. I'm gonna tell you why.
This is the beauty. This is the beauty. I can do this though. Let me finish. Everyone want to hear yell. Yeah, I could do this. Sorry. Here's the problem. I'm going to finish, and then I'm going to go through each one of y'all one by one, okay? Because everyone got the right to say what they got to say, but the chaos is crazy. When you want to focus on just lifting up one group, right, everybody got the right to hate. Everybody is going to continue to do all of that, right? When do we collectively try to get together and build each other up? When you want to say, oh, no, we got to stop hating on black people. Black people got to stop hating on black people. And what is that ultimately going to achieve? No, black people should be coexisting and collaborating with white people, with brown people. White people should be doing the same thing. We should all be lifting each other up. Why is it about one race and the other?
Why? Unmute me.
Everybody's on mute.
Okay, let me tell you why.
Oh,
because historically, we don't do that.
Right.
That's why.
Right.
There is
Okay.
no way. There's no way.
Where's the benefit going to come? I didn't get to finish. You texted me unmute me.
Somebody mute Frank. Somebody mute Frank.
Sorry, you
Somebody
can't,
fucking
bro.
mute Frank.
Sorry,
Somebody
you
mute
can't,
Frank, bro.
Let me explain it to you. You know why?
Somebody fucking mute.
Because
All right, Jonah's muted now.
Because historically, all right.
Things are getting a little out of hand here, folks.
Historically, we have not done that. Historically, the system has set up for black people to hate and
Some
work
bullshit.
against each other. Okay, it is a rare occurrence when black people work with each other. That's why the Asians do it, the Jews do it, Spanish people do it, white people do it.
Again, with the Jews.
Yes, they do it too.
But it's true, though. But it's true.
Hollywood.
I'm not
This is
disagreeing
okay.
with. I'm not disagreeing with.
So
that.
let's learn how to do it with ourselves first, and then we can do it together with everybody else.
But no.
Everybody else already knows how to do it, but us.
Where Brandon
No,
go?
you guys didn't know how to do it.
We
Everybody's
don't
done
now.
No,
So let's relearn,
right.
and then we can do it with everybody
I
else.
understand. I'm not disagreeing with the concept of saying that we need to lift each other up. I'm not disagreeing with that at all.
Okay.
At all. What I'm saying though is to say that just the black community needs to do it amongst yourselves.
No,
I don't think it's okay.
But wait,
Nah,
but
Frank,
this is
no,
wait, hold
no,
on.
man,
This is
no.
like the argument.
I think I know what PJ's saying.
But wait, it's like Black Lives Matter. They're not saying that black people only need to do that for black people. They're saying
No, that's
you-
exactly
but-
what Jonas said.
No,
Jonas said that.
No, he's saying no.
I'm gonna
He's
tell you.
saying
I
to-
wish I
wait,
could
wait,
could play back
He's
the
saying
recording.
to re-correct a
Listen.
historical wrong, to correct a historical wrong, black people must lift up other black people, and we all must lift one another up. However,
No.
He didn't
Listen,
say
listen,
that.
listen, listen.
See?
No, no, no,
He
no,
just
no,
said
no,
no.
no, no.
Do you know if you are a black
because-
man,
what the fuck
you
do
are
you mean?
7
Nah,
times
bro,
more
nah.
likely. If you are a black man, you are 7 times more likely to be killed by another black man than if you are a white man than you are to be killed by another.
Well, duh.
Yo,
no offense,
Brandon,
I know
Brandon,
it's
yo,
condescending,
Brandon,
but
Brandon,
That,
we'll
that,
go back
has
to
to play a role in this.
Nah,
that has
Brandon,
to play a
Brandon,
role
wait.
when we talk
It's a
about
proximity
race.
thing.
Brandon, we'll get back to that. We'll get back to that. Frank, and yes, I'm exactly what you're saying is what I'm saying. In order for us to be part of the community and live and work amongst each other, we have to fucking love ourselves first. We have to work with each other first. We have to build with each other first before we can interact with any one of us. Because at our core, from slavery to now, we were told to break each other down. Hey,
So-
look at the fucking,
Wait,
look at the
that's what I
people
was
in the.
saying.
Wait, listen, look at the people in the fucking. And we had the slaves, right? We had them hating the people in the house
yeah,
versus the ones in the cotton field. They were hating each other, but they're the same fucking people. So at some point, we have to learn how to love each other first, how to help each other first before we can interact with the entire civilization. We have to work with each other first. If John is a fucking millionaire, instead of me saying, look at this bum ass nigga who's over here doing some great shit, instead of me saying that he's a bum ass who's not helping his people, let me go talk to John and say, hey John, how the fuck did you do that, my nigga? Is there something that I could do with you, bro? Can I help you get better? Can you help me help you? How do I do that?
So if the white guy comes along that can help you to better yourself along the way before the black guy does, what, you turn that opportunity down?
All right. There's two sides.
But this is my point though.
There's two sides to that. No, there's two sides to that. No, there's two sides to that. No. There's two sides. There's two sides to that.
I'm apparently not into the intricacies of it. If your focus is improving yourself, it should be an improvement regardless of race, creed, religion, whatever. If your whole idea is unity, if you can help me to get a leg up,
I see you, John.
let me get a fucking leg up. Like I don't understand that. Why does it have to be community based? We should, to what Brandon was saying, if we all Americans, let's all be fucking Americans.
Because
John's still muted.
Yeah, John is still muted.
He's muted. Stop muting yourself. I'm tired of muting. Stop muting yourself.
Listen, you don't censor me. I censor me.
Listen, it has to start from us. We were broken. We are broken, scorned people.
So maybe the people should learn to accept the help. Maybe the people
because
should open their hearts
we
themselves.
can't.
Why does it have to be
No,
among each other?
we can't,
only?
we can't, bro. We can't, bro, because
Maybe you can do both, John. Maybe you can do both. Maybe you're right.
Listen,
but my point is, it doesn't have to be one-sided.
Let me
It
know.
doesn't,
No,
but
it
the
no, it
focus-
can't.
That's my point.
It can't. No, it can't, bro. It can't. Because if Brandon came to me, right? If Phil came to me, yo, and I, to you guys, bro, listen to both of you guys. I mean this shit with
Phil
no
got a target on his fucking.
Yeah, I know why he wouldn't take my own.
Yo, listen, and I mean this,
You work for Disney,
with no
bro?
harm. No, listen, I mean this shit with no harm. But if Brandon came to me and if Phil came to me, yo, I got this opportunity for you guys. Let me help you guys. I'm gonna show you guys. I'm gonna look at him with the third eye, like, hold on a second, my nigga, what's up?
See,
with
that's
you?
trash. That's my point. That's the problem.
Did you say what's
the
up
problem.
with you?
That's
That's
trash.
trash.
No, what's up with you?
Phil
What's up
comes
with
to
you?
me
Nah.
and
He
said,
says,
"What's
yo,
up with
John."
you?
But I've been
I
friends
didn't
with
mean
Phil
that.
for
I didn't
over
mean
20
like
years
that.
at this
Just
point.
playing, dude.
If Phil comes to me and tells me the same thing, that might just be your familiarity with Phil. Because you might not trust Phil the same way. I know Phil's a stand-up guy. So if Phil says, yo, I have this opportunity.
Yeah, I know.
No, but
wouldn't
I'm
feel kind of
I'm using them as an example because if any white man comes to me and says, yo, I got this opportunity, I'm looking at you like, hold on a second.
That's racism.
Yeah,
That's
no,
the
See,
point.
I think that's
Say
I
any
think that's the
white
major
man,
point of
bro.
what we're
Why?
having
Why?
right now.
Can't
If-
say any
Why?
white man, bro,
Racist.
because if a white man with genuine
It's still
intentions
racist.
is
It
coming
doesn't
to help
matter.
me and I
It
can
doesn't
peep
matter.
that
It's
it's
still
real
racist.
intentions,
It's still racist. If
I'm
you're
gonna
judging
take
them
his
based on their
help.
skin, it's
But
racist.
see,
It
if
doesn't
me,
matter.
if I was to show up to a Black Lives Matter protest and have my gun on me and say, look, all lives matter. I'm here for y'all. I think our government stepped on us. I think y'all have a right to a peaceful protest. I'm here for that shit. I'm just saying, I'm going to be looked at as some dumb fascist redneck.
Right, John.
It's not going to have any. It's not going to have any flame to it. It's not going to have any heat to it. When in all reality, that's something I'm passionate about, and I think that's where my issue was when I was saying it's media driven. It's separating issues. Right now, we could be coming together on something that is so important and so unjust in our nation, but yet the media has found a way to dig through the groups and even separate conservatives from conservatives and liberals from liberals. They found a way to separate us even more, and it's just, I don't know, my personal opinion on it.
I
Brandon,
agree with Fuzzy. I agree with
Brandon.
Brandon.
I agree with you, man.
But I
agree with
understand.
you.
I understand that to be able to separate us, the way they're doing, there has to be some truth in it. It's not like the government can't come to me as a black man and say, yeah, these white people over here doing voodoo on you. And
How much truth does it have to have though in these days? We know what they can do for computer generation.
here's
they
the
can
thing.
legit
It's not
stage
about
an
it's
entire
not,
school and make up children's computer
I'm
generated
gonna tell
face
you
doing
how.
a shooting and pull a whole nation.
I'm gonna tell you how. Because
Wait,
you can fool
I'm so
one
curious
person.
what Fabian has
You
to
can
say.
fool
He's
one
just taking it
person.
all in.
Not for nothing. Not for nothing. I need Fabian to chime in because Fabian is
real quick.
Fabian is a black conservative. I need that nigga to chime in, yo.
A
Real
black
quick,
conservative.
You can fool
He's
one
black,
person
bro.
because
I
of
don't
the
care
media.
what he say.
You can say it's the
Fabian, when did you
media.
become black?
You can because
He's
look
black,
at his fucking
bro. He's
skin
black.
color.
Fabian, I know
black.
you for a
I
long
think
time.
that's the problem. He ain't black. He's American.
No,
Just
but
like
he's
I'm
black.
I'm American.
And we need
Wait,
to stop.
blacks aren't American?
He's black, yo.
He's black, and
We're all
yes,
black.
he's also American. Listen, I'm
Fabian,
I'm
I thought you
100%
were
American,
Puerto
but I'm
Rican.
also 100%.
Yo, see,
well, I'm
yo, see, this is where I think the fucking problem lies, right? Just because I'm saying that Fabian is black doesn't mean he's not American, right? There's no such thing as a fucking white man and a black man. That's just fucking colors.
We don't call
you-
them
That's what we
European
have to
American.
eliminate.
Brandon,
Then why you
Brandon,
keep calling him
Brandon,
black then,
Brandon,
Jonah?
You just said he's
Brandon.
black.
You just called him black, and then you're gonna
I
say that
think
there's
you're
no such thing as
fucking
black.
around with some identity politics.
Fuck is
that-
in your cup, bro?
No. I
Yo,
understand what you're saying.
it's white
color-
Henny,
to
white Henny.
call me black,
Yes.
the reason
Yo,
you-
listen. The feeling nice side of me is coming out right now. Fabian is fucking black, right? If we're gonna
You hear that, Fabian?
we
if
need
we're
to
gonna-
start
if
You
we're
just all right. Can you
Can
clarify?
we all
Because you just
accept
said
that
black
we are
don't
all
exist.
black?
Actually,
because
scientifically-
15% for
technically,
ancestry.com.
Oh, that's right. We went over that.
We
Technically-
scientifically all came from Africa.
The other half
So we
Technically
Taino.
all
speaking-
scientifically have some black in us.
yo,
period.
technically speaking, the
Inexplicably.
yeah,
Squeakly.
it's the white Henny. Listen, right? The theory, yo, the theory of yeah, exactly. The theory of white people and black people at its core, it's a racist thing, right?
Yes.
It is.
I ain't black. I'm some kind of light
You're
brownish
human.
color.
You're human.
You're
I'm a
caramel.
light brown. But
All right.
they call black people because black is historically before it's
Correct.
bad. Black sheep,
Correct.
black list, black
Correct.
bald, black, and everything white is good, right? White
Yo,
means
take
purity,
a step,
which
take a
means
step
God,
further. Right,
which means ruler.
right. Yep.
Well, they used to
Right,
call
so
you
they
a
call-
Moor. No, they didn't call you
I
black.
prefer to be called a Moor.
Yeah,
the
that's what they used
Moors
to call you in Europe.
But the Moors weren't
In Europe.
African, were they really?
Yes.
I
Yeah,
thought
they
the
came out from
Moors were
Morocco.
Middle Eastern.
It was a
No,
combination
they
of
were
both.
brought up from
A
like
lot of
Moors
them,
were
North
African.
Africa.
They,
North
right,
Africa.
Oh, okay.
which is still Africa.
Yeah.
And they went in during the
North
Middle
African
Ages
or
and
not-
taught white people how to wash their ass, taught them how to read. Yes, this is fact.
No, I believe it. I know.
This is fact. They went to Italy
the
and they
Islamic
went
culture.
during the Middle
I was like, I
Ages.
get
White
it, I
people,
get it.
Dude, I
white
get it.
people
I
were-
wash my
Yes,
ass.
The heat
yeah.
is real.
White people
Actually-
were down bad.
Actually,
White
Jews
people
knew how
were
to
down
wash their
bad.
asses.
He's talking
So
about one of the
Jews-
most
so the
famous
Moors-
Moors was Hannibal.
Jews wash their
just
asses.
let me give you a look. The Moors, what they did during the Middle Ages, when after the Roman Empire fell, Europe fell into the Dark Ages, and that's when all that shit was really down bad. What the Moors did was capture the information from the Greeks, from the Romans, from Africa, from all of these things, right? All this information, and they went to Europe. They established universities. They started to establish higher education. They taught them how to wash their ass, how to clean.
Excuse me. The Jews washed their asses. Thank you very much. It's
Bruh,
actually the reason.
I'm
It's
not
the
talking
reason.
about. I'm talking about Italy and France, and they
Oh,
went to
well,
real
the reason
Europe.
why the Jews didn't die from the plague is because we washed our asses.
I'm
when
not
nobody
talking
else
about.
did.
I'm not talking about the Jews because now you're going more east.
I
I'm
just-
talking
well,
about
I'm
Western
defending
Europe.
us for Jonah.
Western Europe, the Moors came from Africa, went up into Western Europe, and brought white people out of the Dark Ages. You understand? That is a big deal. Then you started getting the age of exploration, you're getting all this other shit. But that is white.
like
That
it's
the
a theme of
history is
civilizations.
whitewashed.
Yep.
You understand?
Yep.
I prefer to be called a Moor because since I have no historical reference, I did the ancestry and I got Congo, I got motherfucking Ivory Coast, I got a lot of shit. I don't know where I'm from. So to identify to something, and I don't want to be called black no more. I'm trying to phase out the word nigga, honestly. And y'all know me.
That's what we
I
talked about
love the
before, yeah.
word nigga. I am
Good.
always
When you say it
But-
like that, it sounds so.
yeah,
funny.
because I use it.
I,
as,
just,
I use
I
it
don't
as
want
the
to
word
say it.
dog.
I still don't want to
Yeah, I
say
know.
it. But when you say
Well,
it like
you
that,
can't.
I'm like, oh.
You can't. But I'm understanding that word only means black, and it only perpetuates the same idea of the racism that causes here. And I want everybody to wake up. I want to people saying it's not about race. Yes, it is. Even if you don't believe it's 100% about race, it is partially about race. We need to have these uncomfortable conversations. White people do have a huge head start on black people. We need to start addressing that head start because since the head start you got was built off of black people. We have to stop saying, well, my ancestors didn't do it, so I shouldn't have to be blamed. Yes, but you benefit from the system that your ancestors built. And we just need some equity. We need some payback. We need some fairness, at least some acknowledgement, right? The shortest month in the year is not doing it.
A
Right?
lot,
Giving Martin Luther King a street in every city is not doing it.
a lot
if you don't-
revolves
So you know what?
around
I wanna actually-
sympathy and empathy and
yeah.
forgiveness. A lot revolves around those three characteristics, of which
Yo.
I don't think are really easy to find right now. Hold on, Jonah. Let Fabian get in on this. He ain't
All right.
said shit on this part. Where you at, Fabe? Because there's been a lot thrown out there.
It's a lot. I'm trying to actually break it all down and touch on different stuff because every time I wanted to
Process
say some of that,
it.
I was like, boom. All right, so
Process it. We are a bunch of angry brown
the
people
most
and white people.
the most recent thing you said, with and I've heard John say about it that racism here is very unique, black on white, and I feel like the problem I have is that people say too much. People act, not saying all, but a lot of people act, whether white, black, or even brown, that racism is just a unique situation in our country. And I feel like the only way we can get through this situation is realizing that it's inherent in human beings to dislike somebody for whatever reason. And the only way to get past it,
But racism.
the only way to get past it,
Not
no,
here.
No, racism is different.
Racism's inherently based on your skin color.
Not when your constitution is built on
I'm
that
not.
shit.
I'm not
Talking about human nature, just
human nature. Period. It's
Yep.
always going to hate on somebody
Human
else.
nature is based on hatred. I'll give you that.
It's hatred. Now, whether
Self-defense.
you want to hate because this person looks different than me, or this person believes in something different than me, whatever it is, that's always going to happen. So people have to first stop and realize that only exists here in this country, and it's been going on for a long time, and it's been going on in different countries throughout the world. So once we establish that, yes, it is human beings, all right, that are enabling ourselves to hate for whatever reason, whether it's taught or we just brought up with disliking or being jealous of somebody else, and what their status is, whether there's rich, whatever it is. So once we get past that, I feel like then we can start some real change. Because if we just say, no, this is just our situation.
To keep doing it.
No, it's not
to
an
say
excuse
that
to keep doing
because
it.
it happened.
No. That's the way you take it, and that's part of the problem. That's a part of everybody's problem with this, because the second I say that, it's like, oh, well, you're making an excuse for it. No, absolutely not. But nobody's realizing that this is something that we all got to fix within ourselves and stop it. So we have to come together and say, hey, listen, yeah, it's fucked up that this happened here. Let's also realize and look outside our own little freaking horse blinders and our own freaking scope and say, hey, this also happened throughout the world. It happened to Jews. They've been freaking discriminated for 2,000 years. I mean, Chinese were killing each other just because they're different tribes coming together. And they're the same race.
So we're talking about is tribes. I mean, racial.
America
racialism is all
prides itself
tribal.
on being the city
pot.
on top of the shining hill as an example for the rest of the world. So just because the rest of the world the rest of the world ain't got democracy either, right? I don't want to hear what is going on in the rest of the world. Don't go around swinging your dick like you the fucking land of opportunity, the land of freedom, and you're killing citizens and treating citizens.
Bill said democracy is dominant culture.
But I also think, like Fabian, you make a good point. But I think the problem in America is what we went back to before: is we don't have our direct conversation about our racism. So it's not that it's only existing here, but every country has its own unique racism. Brazil has its own unique racism. Mexico has its own unique racism. I can't tell you
DR has its own unique racism. That's what Jonah's been talking about.
That's what my beef is.
DR and Brazil are probably very similar. The darker your skin, the lower your status.
That's the world.
I was
world.
shocked when I met rich people from Mexico when I worked at Woodbury Common, and I had no idea they were Mexican because they didn't look like what I had traditionally, stereotypically thought of as a Mexican. They looked like Spanish people because they were essentially the descendants of the conquistadors. And
what's a Spanish person, my friend?
Spain.
Somebody from Spain. And the people from the Mexica, the Mayan people, the people who were stereotypically natives of that area, the Mesoamerican cultures, they're who I think of as stereotypically Mexican. But all the rich Mexicans that I encountered all looked like they were from Spain.
So like a white person, because white people,
exactly.
Spaniards are
but
white
that goes,
Europeans.
Fabian, you're right. But I think the problem is that suddenly people get defensive and upset when we want to address our racism. They say slavery happened a long time ago.
No.
I'm not saying, Fabian, I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm just saying that your point, like to build on your point. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Yeah. And my thing is that I noticed that because every country's situation is different. And if you go to even parts of Africa, everybody, for the most part, looks the same. Very, very dark. But what's differentiating them and killing each other are different tribes, different religions, whatever it is. So when I say we address that the rest of the world does it,
Hutus and Tutsis, like the nose and this and that.
Well, give me a chance to hide my religion or hide my beliefs. I can't hide my fucking skin. That's cheating.
Well, some black people
you can lie. I can lie.
Read that book I told you about. Human Stain, Philip Roth.
If you look at Sammy Sosa, everybody Google a picture of Sammy Sosa.
But wait,
and see what I'm talking about.
You talking about the Human Stain with? There's a whole book. There's a whole book. It's called The Human Stain. It's by Philip Roth. It's about a teacher. In the movie, it's played by Anthony Hopkins and Wentworth Miller. I was talking to somebody about this. Maybe
I think it was me.
It was you, yeah. And so he starts off the whole story where the professor goes to a meeting and goes, "These two kids haven't been here all year. Are they real or are they spooks?" Well, the two kids are black kids. And it turns out the professor, his whole life, has been living pretending to be Jewish when he was a black guy. And so, people did that. And that's true. There were people, now this is a work of fiction, but there are people who, quote unquote, passed, who were light-skinned enough, who lived their lives as white people. And that's the thing is, if they could, they would, which goes back to why I think said nobody would want to be black.
Hey, fellas.
Nobody would choose.
Yeah, what's up, PJ?
we're getting into like 2 hours.
All right.
I'm not saying that to stop the conversation, but
yeah, you're right. Yeah.
we do gotta you gotta wrap this up a little bit. And
Jonah's
but
muted.
How
one
does this keep
thing,
happening to you guys?
because he mutes himself and
And then you can only
yes, like fuck.
Yeah, right.
Got it.
Um,
I got
You notice
it.
who
I don't know
never
what
had
the fuck
problems
is
muting
going on,
themselves,
man.
Brandon?
Uh-huh.
I'm being
Nothing.
fucking.
Nothing.
I'm
Nothing,
being
Brandon.
fucking-
Nothing.
What
I will message you privately.
I'm being racist against yo.
one of my I guess points that I would like to make, and just really invite people to realize and accept that when we have these conversations, right, it's inherent that we get defensive, regardless of what side of the fence
Agreed.
you fall on.
Agreed.
The immediate response in today's culture is to get defensive, and we need to stop that. We need to stop putting up our fucking fists and get ready to fight for our side and try to exhibit some empathy towards the others so that we can start to understand where somebody else may be coming from. We don't necessarily have to agree, and that's really the beauty of what makes our society and our cultures, because that's how we build. We come to a common ground. You know, it may be the dominant culture, as Phil put it at one point, but you know what? You almost go with what works best. It's never, ever going to be perfect. We're always going to have our problems. But what we've been talking about has been a constant problem in our society that it's reached its boiling point.
I think that one of the beauties about, and not just because this is our podcast, but I think the beauty about the fact that we got Phil and Brandon on here makes a good statement to why these conversations needs to be had, right? Because Phil and Brandon are two, obviously, white men. We can have these discussions with them.
Mostly Native American.
I am white.
But we can have these discussions, and Phil, for the most part, agrees with us black and brown men and what we're going on, right? Brandon, for the most part, also does agree, but he also has his quote unquote all lives matter.
Difference of approach, same goal.
Yeah,
right.
I don't see him as having it that different. Yeah.
Well, but this is why I'm saying that. This is why I feel like these conversations need to be had, because again, here we have two white men who agree to the cause, right? And
in principle.
And principle, right? And this is the beauty of why we need to have these conversations, because
agreed.
Here's two white according to the media, to the news, to the political agenda, whatever the case may be. Here's two white men who says, "Hey, listen, be it as it may, we have a situation here. We have a problem. There's cops who are violating laws." And this is why I feel that these conversations are important, man. And whether we're finishing or not, on the behalf of Alpha 5, man, listen, I appreciate Phil and Brandon being on here, man, because your opinions matter, man. And I thank you guys for being on here, man. Because
thanks for having us on there.
Yeah, man. I appreciate you guys being on here, because you guys, we were all agreeing, black and white, that there's an issue with cops. There's an issue with law enforcement over using their powers.
There's an issue in our society. There's an issue in our society that only together, regardless of
can we solve
race, that we need to solve,
right?
So that we can all be better, so that we can all be stronger at the end of it.
Agreed.
And clearly, even amongst the same quote unquote races, you're gonna have your different opinions, and you work through them. You have the hard conversation. We're at a point that we we can't
We have
ignore
to have
them.
them. We have to have them.
We can't
We have
ignore
to
the
have them.
conversations anymore.
I think I
Yeah,
think the thing
political
is,
correctness has got to go out the window.
but you
Like,
got to have
we
these
gotta get
conversations
down
in
deep.
person. But like,
Agreed.
you know, if we had these
Agreed, Brandon.
conversations, typing these conversations, you probably think the other person's an asshole or an idiot because
Well,
you don't get to actually have a conversation. That's not
Right,
talking.
I
I think
agree
that's
with
where
that.
it's
that's where
and-
discourse has become.
my
And a lot
last.
of
No,
sorry.
I was just gonna say my last point is it's kind of, to me, it's ironic that the guys know that are in the podcast. They know that we purposefully try not to talk about race often because it puts a lot of people off.
Right.
And this is just, that's kind of like a microcosm of our society. And
Our-
that's-
our
So
pro-
you-
our
so you're
promotions
bringing the
get
white
banned on
folks
social
to talk
media.
about race.
well, even before
Period.
this, when we decide on topics,
Sprinkling
we'll
some
do it
whites.
we'll do it every once in a while, but we won't consistently do race topics because it's too divisive. And I
Right.
just think that's kind of ironic where here we are and we can't not do it now.
It's
Right.
impossible.
What were you gonna say, Fib?
Well, I guess it's more like a closing remark. So I didn't want to. I mean, it looks like we're still going, you know. But
No, you can give your closing remark. Go ahead.
Yeah, that basically goes back into what I was saying with the political correctness, and we just have to freaking be able to have these conversations. But we also have to notice that my biggest thing is that if you're black, you can't, and there's some people that are black that say, if you're white, you can't discuss an issue with racism because you're not my skin color. And there's a lot of white people say, well, you can't discuss what I'm going through because you're black, you won't understand my side. And the same thing goes for anybody who's brown, anybody from a certain religion, anybody from a certain sex. And I have a problem with that only because how you can truly understand the other side if you automatically dismiss them because of their skin color. You have no right to speak on my struggles. No, he has an opinion, and maybe we can come together if that's outspoken. Same reason why I'm against the political correctness and the racism that people supposedly are trying to suppress by this. And anytime somebody says anything, the cancel culture, whatever it is, how are we supposed to truly address people's mentalities? And if you really truly want to change racism, you have to identify it. You can't identify it if you keep hiding it, suppressing it, and throwing it under the rug. So that's
Well
my
said.
problem with political correctness, because you can't fight an enemy you can't see. And all you're doing is perpetuating racism by saying it's not okay to say this and that. That's not changing the fact that they're racist. No, they're going to find it hurt them in other ways. Like John said, put your application on the bottom, which is harder to prove. At least back in the day when they were going around terrorizing people and freaking dogs and fire
least you
hoses
knew it.
and beating. At least you knew what happened, and you can expose it. And even some of them you could maybe talk to them, figure out why the hell you like this. Well, because my daddy said
We
whatever.
see it right
You know?
now with protests.
But that's also, and that was like what I was watching. The whole point though is to make that racism less and less overt. So then now we can sit here and go, oh no, you know what? I'm not a racist. I don't say the N word. And that is the biggest problem that I think with these issues is that we have put racism so under the surface now that instead of eliminating it because we didn't have that conversation, because people got defensive, because for whatever reason, instead of saying let's knock it out, we said let's just put it, it's okay, and now it's under the rug.
It's not a big deal.
Right.
Now it's under the rug, but it's a
like
massive bump under the rug, and we're tripping over it every time we try to move
And it
forward.
gets bigger
It's like
and
a
bigger
thorn
and
that
bigger.
healed over.
Yes.
It's like a thorn that
Yes.
healed over.
Yep.
But no, you're both right. It's exactly right, and that's why. And if it was under the rug, it has now become our biggest obstacle because the rug is taller than we are. We can't get
Right.
over the rug now.
Brandon, you got any last statements?
Who's that to?
So
Yeah,
me?
who we
Brandon,
Was it me?
sorry,
Oh.
I said to
Brandon.
Oh,
me?
other white guy. Sorry, I get us confused.
Yeah.
I
We
think
all
I
look-
said it earlier.
we all look the same. Ah, headset.
I think I said it earlier. I mean, to touch on it, I think it starts with the number one thing is self-accountability. You know, if we can master that and everybody start swallowing their own sin. Everybody start trying to figure out, you know, ways to make themselves better in that sense. My biggest issue, I think, right now is both sides or all four sides, whatever you want to say, is it's more
20
addressed
sides.
on everyone trying to prove why they're right versus swallowing why they're wrong. Both sides, you know what I mean? Both sides are wrong. We each have to swallow a hard pill to swallow there. and it's not something that's done easily. And you're right. These conversations is what help get. These conversations are water, if you will. They help get that pill down, and they got to be had. Can't dry swallow that shit. It ain't going down. It's a horse pill.
Yeah, no, you're right.
No,
That's
You're
the
right.
perfect analogy.
100%.
It's
No,
really good analogies.
And
Yeah.
like John said, fellas, and this is more directed to Phil and Brandon. We appreciate you guys having the conversation with us, because a lot of what you hear in the media is careful, a lot on radio, TV. For the first
Scripted.
time the other day, I even heard them say black people instead of African American, and I was like, oh shit, that just happened. You know what I mean? Like it's a real thing. Like the approach is real. The conversations are important, and we appreciate you two being part of our conversation. Clearly
100%.
we can continue going. I mean, we're over 2 hours in, and there's still so much more to go.
So much.
But nonetheless, guys, thank you for being here. I'm Frank, aka PJ, here with Jonah, Fabian, John, Phil, and Brandon. Ladies and gentlemen, we appreciate you tuning in. Remember to catch us on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. If it's out there, we're on it. At Alpha 5 Podcasts. Remember, we are all alphas at something. Peace.
Black Lives Matter.